Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here with a detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion on Tropical Depression 9 as well as substantial major hurricane Humberto, where that hurricane is a Category 5 hurricane. So if you haven't been here before, my name is David Schlotthauer here. I am a weather enthusiast that tracks weather across the United States as well as the Atlantic, and we are keeping an eye on these two systems very closely as these remain a threat to the United States, while really only one of those systems is a threat to Florida and perhaps the eastern seaboard, while Humberto is basically going to be going out to sea eventually as it curves around due to a building subtropical ridge up here to the north, and as that transitions over to the east, that's going to allow Humberto to move over towards the north. Eventually it's going to make that turn to the north and then to the northeast. So we're first going to be looking at Humberto since it's the strongest system perhaps so far this hurricane season, or the second strongest, I should say. It's up there for being one of the stronger ones. And we can see what the system actually looks like here on our infrared satellite imagery. This system really has taken off over the last couple of days overall. I mean, a couple of days ago, we were only looking at a Category 1 hurricane, about a Category 1 with winds of about 75 to about 85 miles an hour. Since that time, Humberto has made big strides at rapidly intensifying over that course of the period, and now is a formidable, catastrophic Category 5 hurricane with winds that are over 160 miles an hour and a central pressure of 925 millibars. So this is a very, very big monster out there in the Atlantic, and additional strengthening here does appear possible, but there have been some notable changes with our internal structure that we'll look at here in just a second on why I'm not going much higher than about 165 versus with what we were looking at earlier when I made that community post. So yeah, Hurricane Humberto really quite impressive. And actually, if we take a look at our let's go to our visible satellite imagery here. We can see what the system actually looked like earlier. If we could actually pull that up here once this actually loads on us. Hopefully it loads. Hold on a second. Let's give it time. Okay, yeah. So what I'm going to have to do is put this up here. Hopefully it didn't get too late so I can show you all with what the visible satellite imagery look like, because this system is very impressive. I mean, one thinks that it actually looks like a whirlpool. We have a stadium effect on this system, which indicates that the system is very strong. Yeah, so here it is right here, right before the sun went down. And as we play this through, you can see how that spins there. That is a nasty look on a satellite imagery. That is a signature what a Category 5 hurricane actually looks like here. With that whirlpool, we got even some gravity waves indicating that the convection in this eyewall is very intense. We have a lot of lightning activity going on, which also signifies that the eyewall is very vigorous with vertical hot towers all over. And we even have a sky blue eye, which means there's not much low-level cloud cover obscuring blue skies here. So yeah, if a Recon mission was conducted on this, they would find blue skies within the eye. Pretty remarkable to see that. And this is the second Category 5 hurricane of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season here. And so you can see right before the sun sets there, you can get an idea what it looks like here. Just a very picturesque view here of the hurricane. You can even see the shadow here. So yeah, it's truly like a stadium effect on the system. And that gives us an idea that the hurricane is very intense, violent in nature. And it's one of those things that this is one of those rare times we get to watch this from a distance, because this is going to remain out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the Atlantic. But if you are on a cruise, or if you're on a cargo liner, just keep that in mind. This is definitely is producing some very, very big waves as we speak. So let's actually take a quick look here at 3D, and you can see with what this hurricane looks like in three-dimensional view. This is pretty cool. A lot of you absolutely endure the 3D dimensional views of this hurricane. By the way, Hendix, thank you for the $20 donation. I do appreciate it. So yeah, this is a very intense hurricane, and as we play this into a movie format, you can see what this is going to look like. Again, Hurricane Humberto really has explosively intensified in the last 36 or so hours, which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. And that's what we see. So you can see a very uniform, smooth CDO-like future, some intense convection, it looks like here, popping up on the northeastern quadrant of the eyewall of Humberto. But overall, very uniform, symmetrical like CDO. Not as symmetrical as it was earlier, though, likely due to a little bit of some vertical wind shear, just a touch, that is making things a little bit more restrictive here on the western side. But overall, a very intense symmetrical CDO surrounding the eye of Humberto right now. And as we move inward with this, you could even see how warm the eye actually is. You can really get an idea. The eye remains extremely warm. And that is why this hurricane has winds of 160 miles an hour, because the eye inside is very dry. It is very warm as well. You can even see a little bit of gravity waves, like one right here. You can faintly see it. We have another one right here. That gives us a really good idea that this hurricane is very intense as we speak. And that's what we're dealing with. Pretty cool, isn't it? Love seeing 3D sometimes. It makes things really kind of come alive. So right now, Humberto at the moment is very intense. And when we look at the Dvorak technique, which is a satellite intensity estimate, so unfortunately, we are not able to get Recon data or Recon planes out in that because it's too far out in the Atlantic to do that. And so we got to rely on microwave images. We got to rely on satellite images like the Dvorak technique to give us an estimation of how strong Humberto actually is. And with such a very uniform CDO here, with cloud tops that are right around negative 75 degrees Celsius right now, you can see some gray colors inside this CDO, which indicates again, negative 75 Celsius. That tells us that there is very deep convection, and the satellite intensity estimates have not changed much, and this remains a 140 knot, 145 knot hurricane at the moment, which is pretty insane, given the fact that we just came out of an inactive period out there in the Atlantic. Before Gabrielle, we had Gabrielle becoming a Cat 4. Now we have our next major hurricane, and this is Humberto, Category 5. So 3 major hurricanes, 3 hurricanes, and 2 of those becoming Cat 5 hurricanes. It goes to show you that, you know what? It's more of the quality this year than the quantity. We might only see 10 or 11 named storms this season, I believe, but that doesn't mean that, oh, this season was dead overall. Because this is going to be a huge ace producer. We're going to really rack up the ace points from Humberto. All right, so now, is it still strengthening, you might be asking, with such a very intense eyewall-like future here with a fairly symmetrical-ish type CDO, again, a little bit weighted on the northeastern quadrant? And the answer is there is already some early indication that an eyewall replacement cycle is in the early formative stages of occurring here. The eyewall replacement cycle has not begun yet, but we're beginning to see an outer eyewall beginning to form here. And some of you are probably going to disagree. Like, how, David? How do you see that? Well, if we look at our microwave imagery here, which again is very helpful at assessing whether or not we are indeed seeing a secondary eyewall, is from the GPM GMI 89 gigahertz channel, and this came in right around the 22 Zulu time, so not long ago, maybe a couple of hours ago. And you can see, of course, the inner eye wall right here. That's what we're seeing with the very intense convection. A lot of lightning going on with this, a big lightning prolific producer. But what you don't realize here is there is a secondary eye wall that is trying to form. You can see all of this orange, this yellow right here orbiting around the main eye wall. This could become our next primary eye wall if this ends up being closed. You could almost kind of get an idea, the leading edge of that eye wall like future, and it really does match with the CDO of what we're seeing. Again, let me turn this off. So if we go back right here, you can see the shape of that CDO, that secondary eye wall that is trying to form. And when we look at this on an infrared standpoint, you can see more recently, we do have a little bit of an asymmetry to our CDO-like future here, which stands for central dense overcast. So that really matches with what we're seeing on both the microwave imagery pass and from an infrared satellite perspective. And the IR has warmed up a little bit with those cloud tops, which indicates that I believe that Humberto is no longer rapidly intensifying anymore, or whatever intensification it went through. It looks like it has paused that intensification cycle for right now because, again, of this secondary eye wall that might be in the early stages of forming. And if this ends up continuously forming here, this would likely facilitate another eyewall replacement cycle, which would forebode some weakening in the short term with our hurricane here. So right now it may reach 165 at the very max before this actually does a little bit of harm to the system. And then I do expect a little bit of weakening to occur depending on how impactful this next eyewall replacement cycle is. The last eyewall replacement cycle, I believe, was an eyewall merger, which was able to complete very quickly. We don't know if that's going to be the case with this next upcoming ERC that would likely, again, lead to some weakening. So therefore, our intensity estimates from the objective satellite intensity estimates are as such. So we got pressures that are down to 923 millibars, which is pretty dang low. Winds that are right around 140 to 145 knots. So again, we have a very intense hurricane here. And our subjective final CIT numbers are about 7.0 to 6.8. So a little lower on our raw and adjusted T numbers, which again, we're seeing that because of the fact that the cloud region temperature has warmed just a little bit while our eye temperature has remained steady state for a while. Actually, the eye temperature has cooled just a little bit. Earlier, this was like at 21.8 degrees Celsius, close to 22 Celsius earlier. That has since come down a little bit. So we have had some cooling with the eye of the hurricane recently, with a warming of our cloud region temperature, which indicates that Humberto is not strengthening anymore at the moment, I believe, at this time. So let's actually just switch gears because, of course, we're not real well. Actually, let's take a. We'll see this on. Yeah, let's go to the National Hurricane Center and look at the track forecast here, because yes, our friends in Bermuda do need to be watching this system pretty closely. And here it is right here on the latest NHC track forecast as of the 5 o'clock advisory. And again, 160-mile-an-hour winds. This will remain a major hurricane over the next 3 days. All these letter M's on your screen indicate major hurricane intensity greater than 115 miles per hour, or a category 3, when you abbreviate it. So that's what we're looking at here. The system is going to go pretty much due northwest as the subtropical ridge builds over to the east of the system. So that allows the system to kind of do this northwest track turning north and then to the northeast as it rounds the western flank of that ridge. And you can see Bermuda right here, pretty close, too close for comfort here, as this remains a major hurricane, perhaps, or even a little stronger than that. We could see near hurricane force winds passing over Bermuda. Even so, the center itself does not directly impact Bermuda. So yes, anyone living in on Bermuda, you need to be watching this system very closely, as significant impacts, indirect significant impacts, are possible to the small island there. While after that, this will remain in the open Atlantic and not really cause a whole lot of harm. So at the moment, Humberto not causing problems. The only problems it's causing is how impressive it actually looks at the present moment. So now let's switch gears and talk about not invest anymore, Tropical Depression 9. Let me open up another tab here. And as we pull this up here, we can see that deep convection continues to organize over Tropical Depression 9 here, and is not a tropical storm at the moment. Okay, this is still a depression by all means. And in recent frames, it looks like the deep convection here has weakened a little bit, but we do have a closed circulation somewhere in this area. And we can show you proof of that from the latest aircraft recon mission that they flew through the system. You can see there is the circulation right there, pretty much in this general area. They did find 34 knot winds, which this could end up being a tropical depression, but it is too hard to tell if that's going to be the case here. But definitely winds increasing on this circulation a little bit out of the north, with winds there at around 20 knots, with a little bit of wind here, a little patch that is at around about 34 to 40 knots. So that would, if the NHC looks into that very hard, they might upgrade this to a tropical storm, which would earn its name Imelda as it develops. And again, the pressure continues to fall slightly, now at 1,005 millibars. So it is not falling extremely quickly, but nonetheless, it is falling at an appreciable rate, where the circulation is becoming better organized and defined. All right, so that's that. Here's a look at the latest models. And the question is, how strong is this actually going to get? Is this going to become our next hurricane? The answer is, in my belief, there is a chance this does become a hurricane, and therefore my intensity forecast has been raised from the last one, and we'll get into that in just a little bit here. So as we put this into motion, you can see this is on the latest European model for this afternoon. You can kind of get an idea that we have winds of 20 to 25 knots, primarily on the northeastern side. That's what the aircraft kind of pretty much found. So we have a near end tropical storm here, and the winds do continue to increase ever so slightly. So in the next 36 hours, by Sunday afternoon here on the 28th and the 29th of September, we end up seeing winds here that are nearing tropical storm intensity, with a central pressure of about 1,000 millibars. This continues to intensify, but very gradual here. Not very quick intensification is looking likely here over the next couple of days here. Not until it approaches pretty much over here in the next 3 days is where we do see some intensification as it tries to consolidate a little bit better, and the upper level dynamics become a bit more favorable. That is, if they actually do at all. And this would be a low to medium grade tropical storm with winds between 50 to 60 miles an hour at this given time from the Euro. But after that time, it does try to strengthen up a little bit more and ends up becoming about a 50 to 55 knot storm. So we're looking at about a 60 to 65 mile an hour tropical storm here on the latest European model as this stalls. Again, that stall is going to be very important. There's a lot of uncertainty exactly where this is going to stall. How long is it going to stall for? Because where it stalls and how long it stalls will depend on how much rainfall actually accumulates over the Carolinas over the course of the next 4 to 5 days here. And it really moves very slow here over the course of 5 days. You can see that purple area there indicating very strong tropical storm force winds here. And it looks like a little bit of a steam jet. That's what we're seeing right here. You can see a little bit of a wind max there at around 64 knots. That would be 75 mile an hour tropical storm, if not even a hurricane here on this particular model. And then look at what ends up happening. Then it retrogrades back to where it came from. So we have a very weird track here with the evolution of tropical depression number 9. If we look at prior runs from like last night, the system was way over here off the side of the screen. But if we look at today's 12Z model run from the Euro, it's way over here. So we are not done seeing big shifts in the intensity, both intensity and track forecast with Tropical Depression 9 because of the complications that are going to be getting involved here. And we'll be looking at the upper level steering flow here in just a second. The GFS model, though, is pretty aggressive in today's model cycle. You can see that the system does try to consolidate a little faster and a little bit closer to the coast of Florida. You can see this is the Florida coast, the East Coast, and you have winds here of about 50 to 60 miles an hour and a central pressure of about 988 millibars, which that's 988 millibars. It's pretty low, given with what we're seeing from the Euro, which had the pressure a little higher. So if we go back and look at the Euro, 1,000 millibars in 51 hours, and in about 48 to 51 hours, we have a 988. So there is definitely a lot of uncertainty how close this is going to get to the Florida coast. But nonetheless, it eventually moves slow here, doesn't stall on the GFS, and then it moves completely out towards the east here on the latest GFS. And we have seen notable shifts with the GFS in recent runs. If we look back at the last several runs, you can see how this is the most southerly trend here in the recent model run of the GFS. So we are not done seeing shifts here either to the south or to the north. And we're also not done seeing a potential landfall potentially over the Georgia or the Carolina coast, or a turn out towards the east here towards Bermuda down the road. So we are still seeing this big fork in the road, whether or not 9 actually gets close enough to Georgia and the Carolinas to bring very significant flood concerns along to go with high winds and then storm surge, versus a track that goes out to sea here and does not cause as big of a problem. So that's what this actually looks like. And you might be wondering, why are we seeing big differences amongst our modeling? So if we get another tab open here and look at the evolution of our system, let's go to, where is it at? Where are we at? They took the tropical Atlantic away, oh no, they didn't. There we go. Thought they took it away. My eyes. Okay, so let's look at the two different solutions here. This is going to be pretty, actually, you know what? Western Atlantic. Yeah, that shows two systems. That's what I was wanting to show you. So Western Atlantic. We're going to look at our 500 millibar height chart here, because this gives us a pretty good idea what our steering flow is going to look like here. We're going to first look at the GFS model, and it's really about how strong Humberto is in relation to how strong depression number 9 is. So, of course, players on the field, we have this big, strong, deep layer upper level ridge here to the north of Humberto. That's helping to guide the system generally off to the west-northwest at about 12 to 13 miles an hour. That's well established at this point. We have this upper level trough that is anchored across the Appalachians into the southeastern United States, but we have a second piece of that energy that is still being modeled here across the northeastern Gulf, while we have tropical depression number 9 here that is entangled within this rather lower height anomaly type field. And so my point here being is that as we get Humberto moving through this pattern here where we have the subtropical ridge, there's going to be some sort of weakness that does develop here over the Western Atlantic, and that's what's going to really help to stall out our system. And you'll see that play out here on our GFS model. By the way, Tyler, thank you for the $5 donation. So putting this into motion, you can see there is Humberto approaching this upper level pattern here with that ridge. And here comes our little bit of a PVU streamer. See this little piece of energy here? This nose dives down into perhaps into the Cuban or the Florida Strait down here in Miami, Florida. And now what you're left with here is rather weak height anomalies over these two systems. And so the tropical system wants to find the path of least resistance. So it's going to want to get tugged towards the east and towards the northeast. And that's what we end up seeing. But it doesn't do that here on 9 right away because the system's not deep enough. And that's why strength here is everything with the system. If we get a stronger system here, then this system is able to kind of turn out to sea a little bit sooner and avoid the eastern and the southeastern United States eventually, versus a much shallower system is likely to feel the impacts of a more lesser tug from Humberto here. So the system is likely to make landfall in that situation. So what you end up seeing here is there is Humberto moving through the pattern, and what you end up seeing here is, again, this trough that does try to dip down. That's another trough that we're looking at. Humberto's over here. You get this back around westerly flow, helping to usher the system off the coast of Florida eventually. All right, but again, of course, this has not been easy for the model to resolve. If we look at, again, prior model runs, you can see that things are very fragile here. In this latest GFS model, Humberto is a little bit further to the east here, and that's why our system is also a little slower in relation, which then impacts that. Okay, that means if Humberto gets a little further to the north here, this system will likely help to get tugged because of this little bit of a trough-like feature that tries to not really drop down, but there's going to be, again, a little bit of a binary interaction with that trough. All right, and so that's what we end up seeing here on the GFS in its 18Z model run. Now, why does a Euro now show this going onshore eventually? Well, because things are different here. If we look at 48 hours on both of the runs, so we are looking for 12Z Monday. So here's 12Z Monday, and you can see that, of course, the GFS is a little faster with Humberto, but is also a little further to the east and a little weaker with Humberto, and it's a little slower at the same time, helping this system to get ushered a little bit further north, a little faster. And again, there's that key difference between these two systems that not necessarily going to do a Fujiwara effect. We are not seeing that now anymore in the modeling. What we're seeing is which one is faster and which one tries to at least tug, kind of yank, kind of boop, boop, kind of come over here. Come on, come on, come on. Trying to pull the system with it, right? And right now, looks like the Euro is a little weaker with Humberto, which is probably an understatement at this time. And the GFS has a pretty good handle on it, I believe. And so therefore, this system going pretty far north along the coast of the Carolinas is still a distinct possibility, but it is looking a little less likely than what we had in last night's model run because of the timing with all of this, because of where Humberto is in relation to where we have Tropical Depression 9, but still a little too close for comfort here with that system. And then, of course, why does it try to retrograde? Well, because we now have this large-scale trough-like pattern, and what ends up happening is this tries to amplify a little bit, and so the flow changes, and that tries to yank our system back onshore, and you'll see that here. Watch that trough-like future amplify a little bit. You get a shortwave ridge that tries to develop to the north, and that's why our system then goes boop. It tries to move onshore briefly before moving offshore eventually. So there's a lot of uncertainty with this. What does the Canadian model show? I'm curious to see. And you can see the Canadian model very similar with its output here, with the GFS having this go out to sea more likely than going north towards the Carolina coast. What does the icon actually show here? The 18Z output, you can see, again, very similar here to with what we're seeing. So we have a forecast that is at least a little higher confidence that it's not excellent confidence, where I'm not saying this is 100% going to happen, But the trends today have been that the system stalls somewhere over here, and then it makes a sharp bend off towards the east, northeast, towards Bermuda. And you can see that actually occurring in earnest here on the icon model. Now, of course, does this get very strong? Yes, and that's going to be a key driver. In rare sense, I don't want to wish for things, but let's hope this gets stronger, because if this does get stronger, it's going to be more further offshore and it's going to go out to sea. If it's a weaker system, then it could cause a lot more problems, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's what we are really going to watch for. Both intensity and track affect each other in this case. So now, why do I still not agree for a hurricane here in this situation? Well, when we look at the European model, there are marked differences on how the models handle this system in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So we did talk about, and actually let's go to the College Dew page here and let's look at our water vapor imagery. So we're going to go and look at the Gulf here. And of course, there is TD-9 right there. It looks a little bit more healthier than it did yesterday. If we look at our low-level water vapor imagery, there is definitely this punch of drier air here. This orange and red here indicates a lot of drier air in the deep layers of the atmosphere. So not just in the lower levels, but in the mid levels and in the upper levels, because if we look at the upper level water vapor imagery, you see all this yellow here. So this is fairly dry air in the deep layer, and this is going to get in the way of where Tropical Depression 9 is going to go. We're still thinking it's going to do something like this. So while that happens, this drier air is going to get in the way, and we're going to start seeing a little bit of interesting interactions with that drier air. So look at the deep layer moisture plot on that. The turquoise color on this screen indicate lots of moisture is in the atmosphere. That's what we want for significant development if the vertical wind shear were very light here. The browner colors indicate lots of drier air in the deep layer. So this really simulates it pretty well on the Euro. So putting this into motion here, you can see, look at this drier air getting in the way. Again, a lot of you think that, oh, it looks very healthy, David. We have some thunderstorms that are developing. The dry air is well removed from it. But look what's happening here. This drier air is on its way towards the system here. And so what we end up seeing here is a very lopsided system that looks a bit organized here, but does not really look like a very classic bona fide system. Lots of drier air here, man. This is pretty substantial air, or very low relative humidities here on the order of about 25 to 35%. Okay, and then to the north here, where we have a lot of moisture, that is a given with a vertical wind, with a sheared like cyclone here, where the mid-level circulation is offset to the north of where the low-level circulation is. So therefore, relative humidities here are going to be very high, where we have a lot of clouds, lots of rainfall that develop over the Carolinas, which, by the way, the Carolinas are going to get a lot of rain nonetheless out of this. This is unavoidable, unfortunately, for the areas, but if this is further south and further offshore, it would mean the difference between you getting 2 inches of rain or getting potentially 10 or 11 inches of rain, if that makes sense. You're still going to get rain, but is it going to be a lot or is it going to be a little? That is going to, again, depend on exactly where and when this stalls, if it stalls, and when it makes that turn to the east and moves away from the mainland. All right. So this is what we end up seeing here, and the Euro really struggles to get this together here. Very much tilted here with height. Lots of dry air. Really does not look like a hurricane by any means. This looks very, very almost extratropical-like or subtropical-like, with, again, a very asymmetrical look here to the amount of relative humidity that we're seeing in the atmosphere. And then it does try to develop that inner core briefly before it gets sheared once again. So that's what the Euro actually indicates here at the very moment. But now what does the GFS model say all about this? Well, the GFS model thinks that not as much vertical wind shear is going to get in the way of this. And it does appear that an inner core structure would likely form here, a very well-defined one, in fact, with lesser vertical wind shear. So this would be the worst case scenario. Like always, like the GFS likes to always do this day and age. We all know that it likes to be very aggressive with these type of setups. And so that therefore I am really not placing bets on the GFS right now with this, because again, there is a lot of drier air on the backside of this, and it is going to be very interesting to see how much drier air actually prevents this from developing any further as it moves further to the north. And then look at it, it still hangs on to that inner core structure. You can see that donut of higher relative humidity values there, an indication that vertical wind shear here is not very strong at all. Even so, the upper level winds here are a bit elevated. They are not as strong as what we saw in prior model runs. So that is going to be the thing to really, really pay close attention to going forward. Whether or not will there be enough dry air to get in the way of this inner core structure to prevent strengthening, or will there be enough moisture to overcome that? Okay. And so what we end up seeing here in 96 hours is still a bit of a sheared system, but being protected by this bubble of really high relative humidity values versus what the Euro is showing. So yeah, there are two different scenarios at play here, whether or not will we get an inner core forming on the depression. And right now, one could even argue if an inner core will actually get going. And so I am not really enthused about this system very much. And we can see that here on the HAVS A model. Again, a similar look here as what the GFS is showing here. Again, lots of drier air wrapping in on the backside of this. In fact, if you are in Florida, the only real thing you might see is enhanced near tropical storm force winds. You may not get much rain at all. Okay, just a little bit of rain here along the coast of Florida is all you're going to see. If you're in Tampa Bay, Florida, Sarasota, you're in the clear because you're going to get a lot of this dry, stable air coming in on the backside of the system, helping to bring you all any rainfall. And you're going to see a little bit of wind associated with this. But the latest, let's see if we got our 18Z run-in. Okay, we did get our 18Z run-in. And so right now, this gets down to about 974 millibars in the deep layer moisture plot here. We look at prior runs, it was a little weaker. So this has strengthened a little bit, but is now a little further offshore. So we do not have a landfall on the HAVS A model anymore. But look at all of this green here. This is very, very deep layer moisture, lots of heavy rainfall, some flood concerns. That is going to be the story with this system, okay? We have to realize that. Now, going forward here in the next, say, 84 to 85 hours, you can see then eventually, look what ends up happening on the 18Z HAVS A hurricane model specific. Look what happens. It gets decoupled. All that moisture goes bye-bye. And we have a naked swirl here, a low-level swirl with no convection whatsoever over the system. So yeah, even so, this is still a bona fide system, no convection on it, means it's going to die away pretty quickly. And look at this really fills in a hurry here. And we only get maybe a little bit of deep convection in about 5 days. So a very weak scenario on the HAVS A model. And let's look at one more HAVS model, and that's going to be the HAVS B. HAVS B. Let's go to HAVS B on 9. So the HAVS B here has a system a little weaker than the HAVS A is, and a little further offshore, interestingly enough, but also shows the same thing, it trying to decouple. But boy, if it could latch onto at least enough moisture here, we could see a strong system. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty here, even between the two HAVS A and HAVS B models, one showing a 1000 millibar system and one showing a 972 millibar system. So we do not know for certain if this will or won't become a hurricane, but right now I am leaning a little bit on the weaker side still because of what I am seeing. You got to analyze the atmosphere before jumping to conclusions, okay? And that's how I read the atmosphere. That's how I accurately predicted Humberto, you all. If you remember in my last few videos that I would see Humberto becoming a Cat 5 hurricane, Looks like we have a Cat 5 hurricane, believe it or not. Okay, so now let's take a look here at how strong it will get on the intensity forecast. A lot of you are wondering about that, and I am a little surprised that most of the models here are at hurricane intensity, and so therefore my intensity forecast has been raised, okay? It's been raised a little bit, but I am, again, still in the realm of tropical storm intensity here. So my intensity forecast is being raised a little more significantly here with a peak intensity now of 60 to 65. Well, yeah, about 65 to 70 miles an hour. All right, so I'm going to up that enough to where I'm predicting a 65 to 70 mile an hour tropical storm in about 3 or so days. And some of the models down here are much weaker as well. So that is why I'm not too confident right now. And the NHC is hanging tightly here at barely indicating that this is going to become a hurricane right now. It is going to be interesting to see how this all evolves, but regardless of intensity, heavy rainfall is anticipated on this system. So now let's take a look here at Tropical Depression 9 on the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We will get one out in a few hours here. We have tropical storm warnings out for the Bahamas, so you need to be taking this a bit seriously. Heavy rainfall, strong winds, and some rough oceanic conditions are affecting those islands right now, thanks to this strengthening system. There is a tropical storm. Watch out for the central eastern coast of Florida. So if you are under a tropical storm watch here, actually, if we go to our legacy, I was wanting to show you all that. The newer cone, oh, not that system. Let's go. There we go. Let's go to our cone and then the experimental cone. Oh, okay. So this is the experimental cone. And that is a very, very thin tropical storm watch for that landmass. So, yeah. There we go. So, as you can see, let me make this actually put this in a new tab. There we go. So we have tropical storm warnings out, and then a little thin area here along the eastern coast of Florida under tropical storm watches. And again, there is a chance that this does become a hurricane, but remains offshore, fortunately. I'll tell you, I don't know how lucky we can get for a hurricane season. I mean, it's hard to believe we only have had 2 landfalling systems this season, and if we get this going out to sea, actually, this would be making landfall. Actually, never mind. Well, so this breaks a tie most likely because this would be making landfall. We'll see what the NHC, what the post-analysis actually show if this did make any landfall on any of these islands. Really hard to tell when you have a system that is in the newly formative stages. And so we'll have to wait after that. But boy, if we can get away with this not making landfall at all, I mean, you can't get a hurricane season any more friendlier than what we're seeing here. You really can't. We got to consider ourselves lucky. So yeah, therefore, hurricane conditions are possible from Tuesday morning all the way through Wednesday afternoon here across the southeastern coast here of the United States, perhaps in the North Carolina area. So now, how much rainfall could we see in associated with tropical depression number 9 here? And so again, there is that degree of uncertainty that we're dealing with here, okay? So you need to use this map and take this into consideration. And that's why I did not jump yesterday saying, oh, there's going to be 10 inches of rainfall. There's going to be 8 inches of rainfall, right? So right now, the National Blend of Models in a coordination with the National Weather Service and the Weather Prediction Center in Wilmington does forecast up to about 3 to 4 inches of rainfall there. In Charleston, you're looking at around 4 inches of rainfall. Charlotte, right around about a half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch. If you're in Raleigh, in Durham, in North Carolina, you're looking at around about an inch or so. Actually, an inch and a half in Charlotte. My bad, got you guys confused there. And then Raleigh about an inch and a half or so, which is enough to lead to some marginal flood risks, and Augusta right around an inch sharp there. So this is mainly going to be for the southeastern coast here of the Carolinas mainly. Even in Orlando, Florida, you might get an inch, but again, most of the majority of the heaviest rainfall will be offshore. And this red area here is a foot of rainfall, so it's a good thing that is well offshore off the southeastern coast. So, of course, we want to go into a little bit and kind of dig deeper into all of this. So, because of that, we're going to look at some of our other models on what they're saying as far as how much rainfall you can get, because I want to be very thorough with my updates, folks. I don't want to just leave you guys in the dark where like you guys didn't get any information, so I want to be very thorough here and life-saving as much as I can. So if we take a look here at our rainfall totals on the national blend of models, you can kind of see those similar rainfall totals over the course of about 5 days. It's going to take about 5 days for it to get over here. So you can see those rainfall totals along the coast, anywhere between, on this model, about 4 to 5 inches there. Okay, we got 5.2 inches there on the state line of Wilmington in North Carolina and in South Carolina, and then other areas here up to about 3 to 4 inches on the national blend. Now, speaking of the national blend, this is the most accurate model you can use alongside with the Weather Prediction Center. They're the two top sources I would really recommend when checking out rainfall totals, because the national blend takes all of the reliable global models, the high-res models, and everything you could ever think of, and it puts it into an average and a blend. So this gives us a more realistic outcome of how much rainfall you could actually see here. And so you can see on the Weather Prediction Center, similar rainfall totals with what the national blend is showing. But look at this right here. Again, even so there's just this red area, there is some higher anomalies right here showing up to 14 inches of rainfall. So again, where this stalls and how close this gets to the coast, boy, it is going to matter very importantly. It really is. It's going to mean the difference between you getting like 3 to 4 inches of rain here in the Carolina coast to maybe seeing up to 14 inches of rainfall. So you have to keep that in mind. If it's closer, you will see more substantial impacts. If it's further offshore, the impacts are lesser. But either way you put it, at this point in time, we are looking at rainfall totals on the order of about an inch to about 3 to 4 inches over the Carolinas at the moment, but not as significant of a flood threat as what we were possibly thinking yesterday. All right, so the euro, let's look at the euro. Of course, the euro being very bullish here, I believe. I mean, there's not going to be a foot of rainfall along the coast of Wilmington in North Carolina, or if you're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I mean, that's a foot of rainfall potentially along the coast there. And look at the rainfall here off the coast. I mean, that's 51 inches of rainfall. 51 inches. You got to be kidding me. You really got to be kidding me on that. And it is a little closer here. I really don't agree much with the euro here because, man, this is very aggressive. I mean, look at the 12Z here. Showed 53 inches of rainfall off the coast of the Carolinas. I mean, if this did get a lot closer and the euro ends up being really correct, man, this would be really bad. This would be terrifying. If this purple actually comes on shore, this would be historic. This would be an extreme flood outbreak potentially for the Carolinas if that actually came to fruition. But the good news is, doesn't look like that's happening with what the euro is showing. And you can even see the GFS model not very aggressive here with its rainfall totals compared to with what we're seeing with the euro. Goes to show you that the euro is a huge outlier here for once. You can see it here too on the Canadian, not as aggressive. Let's look at the artificial intelligence model. What is that showing? That is showing similar rainfall totals here on the order of about 12 to 14 inches off the coast of the Carolinas here, but still looking at about that 3 to 4 inch range. The euro is the only outlier in my own opinion here of what we're seeing. Let's see what our high-res models. I don't think they go that far. whatever we get here doesn't look all that significant at the moment on the North American meso 12-kilometer model at the moment. Boy, look at the northern Bahamas, though. They're going to get hit pretty good with heavy rainfall and some flood concerns there. Let's see what the latest Euro actually shows as far as our wind goes, because this is definitely a lot closer. Let's go and can I actually zoom in on the Carolinas? I think I can. The South Carolina. Yeah, so here's South Carolina. And again, look how close this gets. And that is a hurricane, that little fetch of wind right there. We go back a run, you can see it's a little further offshore. If we go back to the 06Z run, it's even further offshore. So we have seen this trend a little closer to the coast, and it is going to be really worth watching on really how close this gets. Because, I mean, if this center actually makes it over here, excuse me, or over here, there's going to be a lot of flooding. The flood threat is going to be substantial, unfortunately, and could be full devastation because of how much lift we're seeing, how much subtropical moisture or how much deep tropical moisture we have advecting northward. And if we actually look at our PWAP values, which tells us how much water is in the atmosphere when you squeeze it out in a column, look at all of this. These purple colors, these blue colors, you even got some turquoise here. That is all the way up to about 3.5 inches of PWAP values. And if we actually go back and look at the South Carolina region here, you can see right in here, yeah, that is significant PWAP values. That's a lot of water in the atmosphere. When you squeeze it all out, that's going to really equate to a lot of problems. And the percent of normal in that area is about 250% of the climatological average, which is pretty significant for this time of the year for the Carolinas. And of course, your visibility is very low because you're getting some heavy rainfall on this one. And the standard deviation is all the way up to about 4 to 5. So 4 to 5 times the climatological average here. So this is pretty significant by all means. And you can even see this in the dew point plot. When we look at our dew points, look how high those dew points actually are. Anywhere in the low to mid 70s along the coast here of the Carolinas, which tells us the air is very humid, it's juicy, there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. And I'll tell you folks, if the Euro ends up being correct, which I am not leaning towards right now, there is going to be a lot of problems, a lot of flood risk problems, unfortunately, for those areas. And in fact, if we look at exactly how much rainfall you'll see closer in, I mean, if you believe the 18Z run, you can go right ahead, be my guest. I'm not trusting it a whole lot because of what we're seeing. But on this model right here, that is a foot of rainfall along the coast here of South Carolina near Myrtle Beach, as well as in Wilmington over here in North Carolina. That is almost a foot of rainfall. So again, really depending on how close this really gets, is going to really mean the difference between kind of a life or death situation. It's just an analogy that I'm using here because, of course, if the center stalls right over land here, it's a death situation because flooding does kill people, and that is what we need to consider here. So that is what I'm really concerned about right now at the very moment of how much rainfall this storm could actually produce. Don't worry about the wind as much as the flooding side of things, if that makes sense. So therefore, there's a slight risk for heavy rainfall and flooding over Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, across Wilmington, North Carolina. If you're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Jacksonville, down here in Orlando, you are under a marginal risk for flooding. Cape Hatteras, you're under a marginal risk of flooding at the very moment. But again, depending on if this kind of goes out like that or if it makes a tight turn and goes out like that will mean all the difference for these areas up here. But definitely a 5 to 15% risk for some flood concerns here over the Carolinas over the course of the next 3 to 4 days. So keep that in mind that, yes, you may not get a whole lot of wind depending on how close this gets, but you're likely to see a lot of rainfall associated with Tropical Depression 9 here on the order of, again, 1 inch to 2 inches in some areas, all the way up to about 4 inches. But if this ends up being closer, it could go all the way up to about 5 or 6 inches. Okay, so we have to consider that with 9 right now. It's in the early formative stages. We don't know exactly where this is going. All we know is it's going to be moving over the Bahamas over the next 2 to 3 days before when and if it makes that turn to the east. Okay, we'll get back to that in just a second. So here's a look at the latest 12Z European ensemble forecast, and most of our ensembles as well. We're going to be looking at the GEFS ensemble as well as our FMV3, which is the Google DeepMind model. And so we can see clearly here that, of course, a tropical depression most likely here on the Euro being indicated over the next 24 to 36 hours, maybe a low-end tropical storm. Only a 5-mile-an-hour increase would make this a tropical storm. But notice most of the ensemble members here turning this somewhere over here. So either a turn over here or a turn a little bit later over here, if that makes sense. But you don't see a whole lot of members bringing this onshore over the Georgia or the South Carolina coast. We have a little bit of a fountain, actually, like a little water fountain, like at a theme park, even some fireworks we're seeing. A great way to look at that, right? I guess models like to draw us some fireworks here in today's update. And so that's what we're dealing with here with 9 right now, moving over the Bahamas. For sure, that's a given. How close does this get to the Florida coast? Wood doesn't really matter at the moment. I don't see this getting much closer than what we're seeing right now. And then, of course, here is Humberto with winds that are major hurricane intensity. And yes, there is our little island of Bermuda there on Humberto. And some of the members do bring that over the island. So yes, Bermuda is not done seeing shifts further south or further to the north. So big impacts are a possibility there. Looking at the GEFS ensemble, you could even see the GEFS ensemble a little bit more conservative than the Euro is. Only a few members bringing this onshore now, with the majority of the members here making this turn generally off towards the east-northeast between days 3 and days 5, roughly. All right, there's a delay here, whether or not how soon this turn happens. If it happens very soon, like with what some of the members show, then this will be the best case scenario for anyone, perhaps even for Bermuda in itself. But if this turns to the north a lot later, it gets pretty close to the Carolina coast. And then this could, in fact, perhaps get very close to Bermuda in about 5 to 7 to even 10 days. So again, there's that level of uncertainty. So now that we looked at the GEFS ensemble, the 12Z output, let's look at the 12Z output from our FNV3, our Google DeepMind model. And I will be quite honest with you all, this has done a great job. The Google AI model has accurately predicted that Humberto would be a Category 4 or a Category 5 at this given time, and we are clearly seeing a Category 5. So a big round of applause, folks. You guys, please shout out Google DeepMind AI models for that, because, boy, this is really important. Because if the Google DeepMind AI model performs the best overall this whole entire hurricane season, which it has been doing, this is going to be a lot more reliable for next year's hurricane season, and that's what we like to see. We want reliability, we want accuracy, and we don't want model or other ensembles going, oh, I'm disagreeing with that. The Google, So right now, Google DeepMind AI models doing pretty well. So therefore, I feel pretty good about this becoming a tropical storm pretty much across the northern portion there of the Bahamas, and perhaps a strong tropical storm once it leaves the Bahamas. But even this model only has 1 or 2 landfalls, 2 members making landfall, with the majority turning this out to sea. You can even see it right here. So at this point, the chances of this making landfall are fairly medium to low at the moment. Okay, I just don't agree with our deterministic euro or our ensemble euro. Even the GFS is not agreeing with the euro entirely. So therefore, I am leaning more towards the AI models at this turning out to sea sooner rather than later. So anyone living in the Carolina coast, I would not worry about a landfall just yet until we get more agreement with our models. So good news there, but the flood threat will be a thing still, even so the center does not make landfall. Please understand that impacts do spread well away from the center of the circulation. Okay. So then, of course, here's Humberto, and most or pretty much all of the AI models show this remaining a category 4 or higher, perhaps over the next 3 to 4 days. So yes, Humberto going to rack up those ace points pretty quickly. Now, looking at our other Google DeepMind generation AI model, again, similar with not one member on this model indicating a landfall either. So that goes to show you that, again, most of the members here bring this further offshore. Off towards the east, which is great. Did pretty good with Humberto. The intensity on the Google generation is, I can't agree with that very much, at least with Humberto, because of course Humberto is a lot stronger than 80 knots right now. Actually stronger than 60 knots. What the heck? And so, yeah, you can kind of see that. And then, but of course, I'm agreeing more with the Google generation model with a lot of orange colors here indicating a 55 to 60 knot system. That would be a 65 to 70 mile an hour tropical storm. Okay, with 9. So overall, I'm just not confident right now at putting this out as a hurricane in the forecast just yet. All right, so that's that. Let's take a look here at what we're dealing with Humberto. Any questions about Tropical Depression 9? Any questions at all? Again, there's your tropical storm watch out right now. You can see the tropical storm watch. Any questions? By the way, if you have not been here before, please subscribe to the channel, folks. We are, let's see how far we are away from 55,000. Last time I checked, we were like 50 subscribers. We are 30 subscribers away from 55,000, folks. Man, 55,000. Can't believe it. I've made it this far already. How close will it get to Palm Beach, Florida? So Palm Beach, Florida, let's go to Palm Beach, Florida. So for Palm Beach, Florida, right now it should be far enough east where it shouldn't cause a whole lot of problems. You might get tropical storm force winds at the most, probably like 30 to 40 miles an hour, barely tropical storm force winds. So you'll get some wind. You'll get some wind out of this. But it does not look very significant at all for the time being because this is a 65 mile an hour tropical storm over the northern Bahamas. So yes, getting 35 to 40 mile an hour tropical storms, tropical storm force winds are not out of the question, given the fact that you are just south of the tropical storm watch. Fujiwara effect. I don't think there's going to be a Fujiwara effect. No, I'm pretty confident in that right now. That a Fujiwara effect does not look likely. What about the Brunswick and Savannah, Georgia area? So that's down here. So the Brunswick and Savannah, Georgia area, if this is as far as it is offshore, you would get probably about 40 to 45 mile an hour tropical storm force winds. But if the Euro comes to fruition, you might get winds a little stronger, perhaps 50 to 55 miles an hour. Effects for Cape Canaveral. Cape Canaveral, which is down here somewhere. Cape Canaveral, Florida. I don't know all my locations. I'm not born and raised in Florida, so apologize by that. So Cape Canaveral, you are right in the middle of that tropical storm watch. So I would probably bet on 40 to 45 mile an hour winds perhaps for your area coming in out of the north. Hey David, have you noticed how slow it has been moving over the few updates, with each update moving 1 mile per hour less? So could it move slower? That's what I've noticed, and that's why we are seeing these shifts to the south. I believe it's moving slower than what we first thought. It is not moving very fast. It's only moving to the northwest at 5 miles per hour right now. So it is moving pretty slow, not very fast. And some of you might think that, oh, that's going to allow it over the warmer waters longer, David, and it's going to intensify. Again, sea surface temperatures are not the sole made of this intensifying quickly. Upper level environment needs to cooperate, and we have some vertical wind shear to deal with that we talked about on the order of about 25 to 40 knots. Could it speed up at all? No, I don't think it's going to speed up much, Carrot, at all. I think it's going to be moving at a speed between about, it might speed up a little bit, probably perhaps to about maybe 8 or 9 miles an hour, but it is not looking like it's going to be moving a whole lot over the course of 5 days. I mean, look at the 5-day forecast. It's over here. Here's your initial position. So it's going to travel this whole area in 5 days. It's not very much compared to with what we're seeing in Humberto, where the track cone, if we actually bring up Humberto here, bring him up, you can see just the difference that it makes right here. Here's Category 5 Humberto. Look where it's moving, and it's going to go there. And then look at the cone size, much smaller. So yes, overall, 9 is going to be moving a lot slower than Humberto is. And Humberto right now, as of the latest advisory, moving to the west-northwest at 10. So it is speeding up a little bit more. But yeah, very active. I'll tell you, folks. I will tell you right now, pretty active out there in the tropics. I did expect this. Late September, early October, we would get something. But still lacking, in terms of, well, we're not at 20 named storms. We did not need 20 named storms to get 2 Category 5 hurricanes this year. And I really want you all to really understand that very much, that this is a great example that, oh, wow, but David, we only have 9 named storms. Well, we're going to get emailed up, very likely here. So we can say we'll have 9 named storms. That we have 2 Cat 5 hurricanes, but wait, we only have had 3 hurricanes this year? Only 3 hurricanes? And yet we were able to squeeze in 2 Cat 5 hurricanes. It goes to show you that you don't need 31 named storms to get 2 or 3 or 1 Category 5 hurricane. Thank you, Jennifer, for the $20 donation. I do appreciate that. All you need is favorable background environment. I mean, for crying out loud, we could have had 3 Cat 5 hurricanes this year so far. If we would have had Gabrielle as a Category 5, that would have been our second one, and this would have been our 3rd Cat 5 hurricane on Humberto. Wow. So the number of named storms doesn't matter a whole lot. What really matters is the ACE points. And actually, let's go to Colorado State University on that. With our ACE points, because I wanted to show you all this right here. Our ACE is really, really climbing upward very fast. All right. And I'll tell you right now, we're about to get a big chunk out of Humberto. Right now, Humberto has produced already almost 10 ACE points. We are more than likely going to have this creep upward very quickly, because this is going to remain a Category 5 hurricane perhaps over the next 24 hours. So we could expect this to really shoot up. And I would not be surprised by the end of all of this if we end up somewhere, or if we even jog it up a little bit more and we end up very close to climatology by the time we go into this is the 30th, right? Oh, actually, Yeah, we might end up very close to climatology by next week, um, which would be, yeah. So yeah, this is observed. Okay, I want to make sure I got that right. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get close to climatology by Tuesday next week or by Wednesday, because the hurricane is going to remain, Humberto will remain a hurricane for the entire 5-day forecast. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So through the 2nd of October, we're looking at Humberto remaining that category 2, category 3, 4, 5 in that sort of books. So that's going to be a big ace producer for us, on top of maybe a hurricane out of Tropical Depression 9, which that is going to give us a little bit of a push as well. Fernand gave us 3 ace points, and that only lasted, let's see here. I wish you can click on it. Okay. Yeah, so Fernand only lasted for 4.5 days. Okay. It didn't last a whole long time. So with this being a little stronger, that would be Imelda, gonna last for at least more than 5 days at this moment, maybe 6 days or 7 days. That's gonna give us at least, I project, about 7 or 8, maybe 9 ace points, and that's gonna really help us out for the season. So really, it's going to be about quality this year, not about quantity. All right. So don't freak out that, oh, we only have had 9 named storms or 10 or 11, dude. It's below average. What I look at as below average is looking at the ace points. Now, if the ace ends up being below average, then okay, then I understand where you're coming from, right? But I think we're going to have a near average ace point season, but a below average number of named storms is what we're looking at here. And boy, I'll tell you, Humberto is chugging away, really. A 160-mile-an-hour system, and likely or could become a 165 by tonight. We'll really need to watch that. Very intense hurricane right now. Very intense. And the thing I like about hurricanes, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, is when it has that whirlpool look. And let's bring that up here while we're waiting for that to load. Yeah, could Humberto get retired? See, in my opinion, they did not retire. I don't think they're going to retire Aaron, despite it being a Cat 5. So it has to do damage, enough damage for it to be retired. And so in that case, I don't think it's going to get retired. But Humberto, we'll see. I don't think Humberto is going to get retired. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But anyways, yeah, look at this. I mean, this is just a beautiful signature of a hurricane, that whirlpool. Man, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I can see myself floating on a canoe, like a canoe around this, you know, floating on a canoe and kind of orbiting around this and kind of going right inside that eye and down into the middle. I mean, it really, really is. It's amazing. This is it's just beautiful imagery here. Stadium effect. You can see that Eyewall kind of radiating outward like that. I mean, that is just amazing. Just amazing looking from a distance. But it does have that whirlpool look. It really does. So this hurricane would have been scary if it hit land. Danny Lee, this would have been this would have been catastrophic if this would have hit land. Yeah. If this was on its way of hitting land, I think we would pretty much be live streaming on this right now. It would be crazy. It would be crazy. The fact that I'm even talking about it in this live stream really goes to show you that this is a really intense system. Humberto Eyewall replacement cycle. It does appear that it's in the early stages of an Eyewall replacement cycle. That's what I believe. But yeah, right before the sun sets, you can see what the system really looks like. Man, that is just beautiful. That is just a beautiful system. That eye-like feature. That's what fascinates me with the tropics. I just love and love looking at how the eye looks, and it still looks pretty healthy right now. We're going to need to keep an eye on this, though. If this becomes more yellow, that means the eye is not as dry as what we had earlier. But right now, it looks pretty dry and warm at the moment. Yeah, it definitely does not look as symmetrical. Like earlier right here, this thing looked really intense. You could even see the CDO very, very uniform here surrounding the entire system, almost perfectly circular. And now it looks like that CDO looks a little bit more asymmetrical, just a little bit, not a whole lot, but just enough to where you can kind of say that something's changing inside the storm a little bit. Microwave confirms it. So that's what I'm thinking too, is certainly there might be what appears to be a secondary eyewall. No one's agreeing with me, at least in a Discord server, on this. So this is your main eye right in here. So that's that ring, that donut of deep convection. Lots of lightning on this. That's a given. And then, of course, you get the outer eye. That's this red, yellow, green color right in here. This is the early stages of a secondary banding feature that forms the outer eye wall. It doesn't mean that this is going to form a secondary eyewall. This could fail. We have seen that happen already. I believe we had an eyewall merger, which is kind of a fail-safe of an eyewall replacement cycle somewhat failing to complete. And so what ends up happening is the outer eyewall intensifies, but the inner eyewall weakens just enough to where it kind of sputters outward a little bit. So our eye actually gets a little bit bigger instead of the eye completely going away. And that's what we had. So in this case, as a weather expert here, I'm not a meteorologist. I want to make that clear. I'm going to be transparent and honest with you, but I know what I'm looking at here on a microwave imagery. I've been doing this for a long, long time. All right. Not saying this is an eyewall replacement cycle in the early works, but we do have a secondary eyewall right here, well formed in a sense. And then we have another piece of that eyewall over here that is trying to form. So it is going to be interesting to see the next image come in to see if this actually consolidates. And I don't know if we got a new one in yet. No, we have not got a new microwave pass in just yet. So at the moment, this is our latest scan, and it does show that eyewall trying to build up, and we will see if this is a more classic eyewall replacement cycle to where we do not have an eye-like feature anymore, and the eye ends up disappearing in the water vapor as well as in the infrared satellite. Right now, it looks like the eye is very clear, still down to the surface, with a very warm, dry look to it, with a nearly symmetrical CDO that we have. Also, a second way of looking for an eyewall replacement cycle is watching for any cirrus banding features as well. I know you might think that, wait, cirrus banding features. So if we go back and look at this right here, see how there's not much banding? Can you guys see this? Can you guys follow me on this, right? There's not much banding. This looks very smooth, very laminar, not much banding here in the water vapor imagery, okay? But now recently, if we look at this and watch the trends, you can see There is a little bit of banding right here, a little bit more banding here, maybe a little bit of an arm right here. There's some deep convection right there in the water vapor imagery. And so this is how you kind of get an idea that we are beginning to see a secondary eye wall gradually form. I cannot confirm right now until I get more microwave data in to see if an eye wall replacement cycle is indeed occurring on that. But usually when you get a hurricane this intense, 160 miles an hour, the vortex is a little bit unstable, and so you end up getting an eye wall replacement cycle. And sometimes you could have multiple of these, especially when you have a small eye-like future right now. In fact, let's measure the eye of this hurricane. So let's get our ruler and let's measure here. And this is nearly circular, so this helps out a lot. And so right now, this eye-like feature is, this is about 8 or 9 miles in diameter. So this is a pretty small eye, small enough to where an eye wall replacement cycle would make the eye a little larger. It was certainly larger earlier, so you can definitely get that eye that did get a little smaller, just a little bit. So it's probably about 12 to 13 miles in diameter earlier. Now it's down to about 9 to 10 miles in diameter. So it does appear that an ERC may be imminent here, and it does. Yeah, look at this. The recent frame here does indicate there's not as much red in the water vapor imagery. You can see there was a lot more red earlier. See that kind of orbiting, and now recently that red is turning to more orange. So it does appear that the eye is cooling a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit goes a long way here. It really does. And when we look at our channeling, yeah, oh yeah, this is cooling a little bit. The eye is, and that's a signature that the air is not sinking as much and it's not drying as much. So that usually means there is some weakening taking place. And I would bet you right now, when we update you on the objective intensity estimates, yeah, CRT numbers have come down 6.6 right now. So we're still at 140 though, but wouldn't be surprising if this came down a little bit to like 135 knots at least right now. So I don't believe Humberto is intensifying anymore like we had earlier. And you could see the eye actually wobbling a little bit. Yeah, see? You can see a little bit more of a wobble with that. So there is something changing inside that storm right now. Yeah, it looks like even a little bit of ragginess, to the eye right here on the southeastern or southwestern side. Now it comes to fruition if we're seeing any lightning, and that's what we are going to do here and look for lightning inside the storm. I'm going to stop it right here. Yeah, we only have a couple of lightning strikes happening inside that eye right now at the moment. So yeah, you can see not as much lightning activity as we had earlier. You can see those white dots there indicating lots of lightning. That lightning has recently decreased. So it looks like the primary eye wall may have weakened a little bit as the secondary eye wall tries to quickly consolidate here. We will need to wait and confirm that once we get a microwave imagery in. David, check Dvorak for PTC-9. I will. Let's take a look at PTC-9 on the Dvorak technique. So we're at 37 knots, but our raw T numbers are down to 2.1. So we got to look at our raw T numbers, our adjusted T numbers, because if those are lower, what I've noticed is if those are actually lower than the final T number, that means that the system might be a little weaker right now. And so It is not a tropical storm in this case, though. It's only 37 knots. 39 knots is a... No, wait. No, it is a tropical storm. My bad. Wait. 34 knots. Sorry. I get my knots and miles per hour mixed up. So 34 knots is tropical storm intensity. So this would be a tropical storm right now. But if we lower those T numbers down to, let's see here, down to a 2.1. Yeah, so we're down to like here somewhere. So that would be about a 33 knot storm right now of the estimation. We'll just have to wait. This is still in the early stages, and right now it's at 1,000 millibars if we look solely just at the advanced Dvorak technique. So this could be upgraded in the next advisory to a tropical storm. We will wait for that patiently. ATF says TD 1004. ATCF. Okay. But how are you all doing on this fine Saturday? What you guys up to? I went to a party today. That party was great. Enjoyed myself, and I'm going to enjoy myself with much cooler weather that is coming my way. Say goodbye to these warm temperatures. Oh, hey, since I'm at it, I wanted to show you all some thunderstorms that we got recently. I know we're talking about the tropics, but yeah, we had a little bit.
It's David Schlotthauer here. On September 24th, on a Wednesday night at around 8:45 p.m., we have high-based thunderstorms that are taking place to my southwest. Let's see if we can capture any lightning over there.
So I showed everybody this, and they loved it. They literally loved it. Now, we had a prolific lightning storm that night. It was crazy.
Watching this area out here.
It was crazy. I might do a little shorts or a little video on this. I'm going to have to edit the parts out that didn't have the lightning. This one actually isn't the most exciting one of all time, so we are going to have to look at... This is the most exciting one right here. This is where it gets kind of juicy.
Lightning storm to the south.
Watch this. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's going to happen very soon. Here it comes. This is from, this was Wednesday early morning. Actually, this was Tuesday night in a Wednesday. This last week. Do you guys see that?
Yep, that is.
We don't get thunderstorms very often, and when we do, they're actually dry. These are dry thunderstorms. Yeah, it's pretty, isn't it? Really beautiful. This was actually a good night to get some lightning photography, actually. Okay, stop the spamming. Why are we all saying 67? You guys love spamming, don't you? Why are we all saying 67? Stop with that. There goes my question. What was your question? Recon just went through the center again. No movement at all. I don't believe the models predicted this. Any thoughts? Really, there's no movement at all. I will have to look at that. Let's go to the end here where we got a really good lightning flash. Watch this. Wait for it. Wait for it. Boom. Look at that.
Ooh, there was...
You can see it right there. And look at that, is completely dry. There's no rain falling underneath that. No rain at all. So that was completely high based. And I will show you one more here. This is like the finale over here. Let's see. Pretty cool, isn't it, you guys? Pretty cool. Pretty cool lightning. Pretty cool monsoon lightning. So I'm going to have to edit that all out. I got like 10 or 11 lightning strikes that I think you guys will actually enjoy on that. And it was all dry. Like, we had dry lightning. There was not much rain at all. We got about 3 or 4 hundredths of an inch, but the wind was strong. It was just a really weird night. Again, me living in California, we rarely see lightning storms like that. And we had a lot of lightning that night. It was just crazy, crazy, crazy. And that was because of an upper level low. That upper level low really allowed that. So let's look at the latest Recon data. This is a new format. So I wonder if they fixed the bug to where we were not able to view. Where are we? Tropical Depression 9. Let's take that off really quickly. Hurricane Hunters. 11 minutes ago. Cyclone. It's still bugged up. There's no color code on this. There's no color code. So yeah, I can't even tell on here. Let me actually go to the Tropical Tidbits website and see. Oh yeah, it has not moved. It has not moved. Literally. And the pressure actually came up a little bit. 1006 here, 1005, 1006. So it is pretty much stationary. It is not moving very much. Very much. So I think model, again, it's in the early formative stage. So I think models did predict that quite well. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's kind of stationary right there. So I think the halves A did pretty good with it. It's moving just very slowly, very slowly. Let's see what Humberto looks like though. Yeah, see, Humberto is likely to remain pretty intense. Let's see the HMON. Yeah, pretty strong here. You can clearly tell. Clearly tell. Pretty strong system. It's a 1000, that's a 919 millibar system. Perhaps getting up to 150 knots even in the next 15 hours. assuming that Eyewall replacement cycle does not initiate. See this one right here. Yeah, this is going to remain very strong for a while. So it is weakening in general. Looks like beyond the like the 6 to 12 hour mark. That is still very intense nonetheless. And then it ends up really spinning down. You can see that purple going down eventually, and then it just kind of gets absorbed and becomes extratropical. TAFB, let's see what the TAFB show. Yeah, so the TAFB is a little weaker on it, but still shows near Category 5 or Category 5 intensity. So, yeah. Oh, wow. What is this system over here? Bolioli. Can't even say that. It's all the way in the Western Pacific, way far in the Western Pacific. Man, we have 4 hurricanes going on. 2 typhoons in the Western Pacific. 1 hurricane in the Eastern Pacific. That is Narda. And then, of course, we have Humberto, the king of all kings with its intensity right now. Literally the strongest out there. So we are down to 6.6 on the T factor here. So there has been a little bit of weakening taking place. We'll see what the NHC does with that. But man, it is a strong hurricane nonetheless. Very strong. Cute little whirlpool there. Okay, stop with the 67. I do not know what you guys are referring to when it comes to 67. Some of you are spamming that. Please stop the spamming of 67. Thank you. By the way, we are 1 subscriber away from 55,000. So thank you all for subscribing. I do appreciate it. Another little miniature milestone. Is Georgia going to be affected by Tropical Depression 9? Yes, in an indirect sense. So PTC 9 is going to bring a lot of rainfall for that area. So basically it is going to bring a lot of rainfall, mainly across the far eastern Georgia into South Carolina and North Carolina. But as far as a landfall, doesn't look very likely at the moment. You better be live and cover this. I am live and covering this, but if it doesn't make landfall, there's no point of going live all night unless it makes landfall, so. But yeah. When it's getting deep, when is it going to get deep? Mainly when it gets across the northern Bahamas and across pretty much the semi-Gulf. I don't know if you call it the Gulf of the Atlantic here. with this little inlet, it could become a hurricane. But right now, I'm predicting about a 65 to 70 mile an hour storm right now. So I'm high end on the intensity with that. I'm going to ask you really nicely. Anybody that spams 67 will be hidden off the channel. I am not going to tolerate this. I don't know why you guys are, some of you are still spamming 67. Do not mess around, because the moderators will take action, including myself. So, yeah. What was the strongest hurricane recorded? Oh my gosh. Allen, something like that. Yeah. David, it's a viral name going on currently. So what's so viral about 67s? Maybe some of you can tell me about it. Like, what is, because if it's going viral, something must be going on out there in the mainstream news media about 67 something, right? Will this touch Florida? Not likely. Not likely to hit Florida right now. You're very welcome, M. Taylor. I'm glad to answer your question. What are your predictions for Humberto's max wind speed? Right now, I believe it reached a max, but it could reach one more secondary max of about 165. It just depends on how much weakening does take place if we end up having that eyewall replacement cycle. Because as you know, eyewall replacement cycles do weaken storms down, but it also helps to spread out the wind field a little bit more. And so in that case, I do believe 160, 165, I think is my max. I really think I'm lowering it now because of that ERC. I was going for 170 earlier today. I was like, man, this could push 170, but then I saw that latest microwave pass and I'm like, yeah. It's not gonna hit 170. Looks like that ERC is gonna save that from happening. Unless this does another Eyewall merger, and if it does, then we could be pushing 170. What's up, Nate? Nate One Lift. How are you doing? How's everybody doing today? I'm so glad I'm getting some fall-like weather coming in. Finally, summer is going to come to an end for us. It is 70 degrees outside. Wow, it is 70 degrees, right? Yes, it is. It's supposed to be 56 tonight, and then going all the way down to 73 degrees on Wednesday next week for my area. So, and then our low by Saturday, the 4th of October, by the morning of Saturday, could get down to 50 degrees. That is going to be the coldest it's been in a long while. So I am ready. I am ready for the fall. I'm ready for the winter, and I'm ready to keep you all updated on the winter season. Oh man, I can't wait. Honestly, tropical weather and winter weather are my two top strong points here on the channel. I so enjoy the winter weather. I really do. Severe weather, it's fun for like a month, and then it kind of gets like old. Because I mean, if you get like 3 or 4 or 5 moderate risks in a month, or like 10 moderate risks in a month, if that's even possible, sometimes, you know, it does get old. It really does. But I'm trying something new. Since I have like 5 computer monitors, I'm going to try staying on top of it for the severe weather season next year. Can't wait. David, could you chase a blizzard in the Sierra this winter? I could, but my grandma won't let me because I'm driving her car under her insurance, so I don't think that's going to work very well. Even so, I am going to be 30 years old this November. I don't think she's going to let me. My plan is to eventually live in the mountains, though, to where I get the snow. There's a frost advisory here. Well, someone's getting winter weather. Speaking of that, take a look. Someone, you said frost advisory. No frost advisory, is there? I don't see a frost advisory. Geez, there's a lot of flooding in Southern California, I guess. I don't see a frost advisory. Interesting. There's a frost advisory in Tampa, Florida. No, there is not. No, there is not. Not in Tampa. Nope, there is no frost advisory in Tampa, Florida. I'm looking at it right now on the map. I go to Tampa, Florida. There is no frost advisory in effect. The only thing you're going to see is really warm temperatures. Look at that. Temperatures in the 80s and 90s with overnight lows in the 70s. You guys could have the heat. Go have fun. But yeah, I cannot wait to release my next snow map, you all. This next snow forecast that I have out is going to be far more detailed than what you'll find on YouTube. And I'm not saying that for my ego. No, I am putting some serious time and effort into that snow map where it's going to be like 4K quality. It is going to be extremely, extremely detailed. And I'm going to add a couple more color legends onto it as well. They keep making new accounts. Yeah, well, then they're just going to be hidden by our moderators. They're just going to be hidden. Yeah, see this eye? Look at the eye right here. This is definitely warming up or cooling off. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does not look like it is. Yeah, that eye is definitely cooling off. It's not as warm. The warmer the eye is, the stronger the system's going to be. Yeah, see, you can see the T numbers coming down. So Humberto is probably reaching its peak intensity right now. It's definitely shrinking, the eye, yes. Oh, yeah, the eye is definitely... Oh, yeah, the eye has definitely gotten smaller. I think there's an eyewall replacement cycle. I think it's doing an eyewall replacement cycle. Without a doubt. I think it's in the early stages. Don't you just like looking at microwave imagery and you could see it before a little satellite detects it? Like, isn't that cool? Literally, you can see it before satellite sees it. And we can make predictions based on that. But let me see if there is a new microwave pass on the system. Nope. We do not have a new microwave pass, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, look at this. Yeah, this channel is different. Color 37. Oh, yeah, there's definitely a secondary eyewall forming. Yep. This shows it a little bit better. You can definitely see a secondary eyewall that is beginning to form. So this is probably doing another eyewall replacement cycle. It is already in the early stages. Goodbye, eye. Is not you did good. You knew where you were going. Oh yeah, see the southern eyewall is warming up a little bit. It's not as cold as it was earlier. Yeah, that eye is definitely cooling off a little bit. Is that Imelda? No, it's not. It's not Imelda. I'm going to turn on my fan to bring in some cooler air from outside. It is 88 degrees in my room, and it's 70 degrees outside. So it is going to be interesting how much I can cool this room down. Oh, yeah, that's a lot cooler. That's a lot cooler. Let me know if you guys could hear my background fan running. If so, I'll have to turn it down. So yes, the ADT are estimates of how strong the hurricane is based on satellite intensity estimates, but is actually not. It's probably 95 to 97% accurate, while Recon data is more like 100% accurate. But Recon can't fly out there because it's way out there in the Atlantic. And they're doing Tropical Depression 9 instead. And this is what it looks like right now at the moment with that deep convection. You can actually see it. Those tall mountains of thunderstorms. Beautiful. Yeah, the NHC officially has it at a category 5. Yes. Oh, did they update it? I think they... No, they didn't. Not yet. I'm curious. We're going to wait for the next advisory. That's going to come out at around 8 o'clock my time. So we're going to wait for the 8 o'clock advisory on both Tropical Depression 9 and Major Hurricane Humberto. Glad you like the 3D, you all. You could only get this on the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's why. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you are new here and you haven't been here before, subscribe, share, and like. It helps out a lot. We just reached 55,000 subscribers, folks. I am blessed. I am really, really blessed about that because, yeah, bigger every day. And I got something cool that is coming to the channel for members only. For you as a member of the channel, yeah, I think I'm going to interpolate some of my time-lapsing into the channel, but that won't be until probably next year because I'll have to gather a lot of footage. And maybe every 2 or 3 days, you'll get first look at it. Yeah, this is the 3D. Well, you want to look at, you'll see that this is cooler. Let's take a look here at our good old Humberto over here. Let's take a look at Humberto. Let's look at Humberto. You really thought 9 was cool? Look at that cool looking eye. Look at that eye. Who wants to go floating in it like a whirlpool? Yeah, Brady's been here for 4 or 5 years. Pretty cool. Very awesome regular viewer. Jesse Strong as well. So yeah, look at this. You can see the hurricane in 3D. Look at that. It is like a whirlpool. It really is. What's up, Brittany Parker? How are you? It has been a long time. We need to touch base. We need to talk. We need to say, I want to say, it's been a while. Man, that is cool looking. Look at that. I'm looking at you, Humberto. I'm spying on you. You know I'm spying on you. Let's go inside the eye. We're inside the eye. To that. What's up, Blizzard? How are you? Is Humberto weakening and stalling? No, Humberto's starting to accelerate a little bit. But I'm glad you all are here tonight watching me live on this. I was looking forward to this because when I saw Humberto go to 160, I'm like, oh, crap. I'm going to have to go live on this. I'm going to have to go live on this. I was planning on going live anyways. David, look at Dvorak for Imelda. Okay, what are we looking at on Imelda? We'll look at that in a second. Yeah, let's actually go over there right now. Let's look at this. Let's go Still the same thing. It's 2.0. 2.0 on the raw T number. That's even lower than it was earlier. So this is a 30 knot system in the raw T numbers. Brittany or Logan, just hide these people. Just hide them. Don't even give them a warning. Just hide them. Just hide them. I'm not tolerating that. Thank you. What's up, Nancy? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. It's pretty much a close guarded secret to Sean's gaming channel. But all I will say is I do use Photoshop. I do use Photoshop. I don't want to be mean to you. I really don't. But I don't want people copying my style of thumbnails, you know. We're all unique as a weather community, so... But I do use Photoshop. That's what I will tell you. I do use Photoshop for my graphical designing. So, if I told people exactly how I make my thumbnails and people will copycat me, and then it turns into impersonation, and then it becomes a big legal problem. It really does. So, we don't want that, so... What's up, Paul? How are you doing? My moderators are handling it, Dirge. They are handling it as fast as they can. What's up, Carl? How are you doing? What's up, Door? Dashing, Oregon. How are you doing? Welcome. I'm glad I'm your favorite. We have 55 minutes left until the advisory. We are going to wait patiently for that to come in. Once that comes in, we will give you the latest information. But right now, let's take a look at our halves A on 9, since you all are wanting to know the information on that. And here is Tropical Depression 9 when it comes to the winds, and definitely a tropical storm here when it gets into the northern Bahamas. But whether or not will it continue to intensify, that's the bit of uncertainty that we don't... that it will likely intensify to some extent, but will it become a hurricane? And that is what we don't know right now. Right now, the halves A and the halves B do show a strong tropical storm low-grade hurricane. If we look at the halves B on 9, it's weaker on halves B, so it's not as strong. Looks like a little inner core trying to form on that. But on the halves A, looks a little more broader, but it does show some strengthening towards the end of the forecast. And then it kind of just goes whoopity-doo, it falls apart, kind of. Yeah, let's give Logan a huge round of applause. He's doing his best along with Brittany and all the moderators. Yeah, 9 does not look to threaten, well, watch what we say there. It will threaten some land areas, especially across the Carolinas with heavy rainfall and some flooding. But the chances of a direct landfall is going downhill. We're looking at a downhill turn on it. What's up, Diana? See, I need to make you MOD. That's what I need to make you as. Thought you were MOD this whole time. Can't believe I did not make you MOD this whole time. Yeah, Diane is from Utah. Yeah, we share the same weather almost. Speaking of Utah, there's thunderstorms going on over there. Yep, you're getting the high bases like us. You're getting the thunderstorms like we were getting. Part of that upper level low. Oh gosh, yeah, look at that. Definitely a stormy one up there. Oh wait, this is... I'm too far south. Yeah, you're getting some thunderstorms. High-based thunderstorms. Man, this upper level low has not moved. Literally, this upper level low has not moved much. It is literally still sitting there. It does not want to go anywhere. It literally does not want to go anywhere. Wants to just sit there. I know. I don't know why they're spamming. I'm irritated by it, but that's why we have moderators. Where is Nightbot at? Is Nightbot not even working? I think Nightbot should work. Let me try Nightbot. Let me try something. Nightbot should be working. Okay, it is working. Good. Man, we got to add some spam words to the mix. So that way things can't get out of control. We have 45 minutes until the next advisory. The next advisory comes out in about 45 minutes on Tropical Depression 9. Yeah, I know, Blizzard. It comes in waves, it seems like. There will be those streams that get a lot of spammed, and there's a lot that don't. So check Google Models. Yes, we'll look at Google Models. Let's go down here to the Weather Labs. Yeah, the Google DeepMind AI models definitely want this up to about, let's see. Hold on a second. Let me do this. Yeah, most of the models want this. Man, there are 5 members that want Tropical Depression 9 to become a Cat 5 hurricane or a Cat 3 hurricane. 5 of the models want that, but the majority of the models want the majority of the models want it to be a Category 1 mainly. Let's see how many predict a Category 5. I'm curious about that. With Humberto over here. So let's do this. Yeah, there is 5 models that want this to become a Cat 5 hurricane. And 42 members want a Category 4. 42, 47. So there are 48 members, I believe, like, or 50 members that run the Google DeepMind AI. So here are most of the members that are showing that on Humberto. All you need to do is go over to this website right here, and you could go find it on the Weather Labs website on Google, deepmindgoogle.com, where you could find all of that information. Hey, David, it's Adronama's dog's birthday. Oh, nice. Happy birthday to your dog. How old is your dog? My birthday's not for a while. When's your guys' birthday? I'm just curious. Any November 15th birthdays out there? Love to get to know you all. You're my audience. You're my viewer. Mine is July 27th. During the hot time of the year. Not until March for me. November 4th. Nice. My birthday is December 10th. Oh, wow. Just before winter time. March 29th is yours. Okay, so got some spring birthday. Mine is in June. Oh, okay. So when it's the longest day of the year is in June. June 7th, someone is. Okay. Thank you so much. Glad you love me a lot. Popper in, something like that. January 8th. Nice. October 8th. Oh, yours is coming up, Barbara. Yours is coming up. Let's see. Wednesday. Less than 2 weeks away. On the 8th of October. October 9th. Ooh, Marcus is the day after yours, Barbara. June 10th. Nice. June 25th. So a few days after the longest day of the year. November 19th. No November 15th birthday. Jim Ritter says that. Mine's December 32nd. There's no 32nd. Maybe the 31st. May 23rd. Nice. December 10th. October 9th, November 21st. Yeah, I'm glad my birthday's in November. I like a fall birthday. That's when the trees are so pretty. Lots of orange, yellow, brown, red. That's kind of why I want to live in the southeast, like in Georgia. The Appalachians. Oh, man, they are pretty. It's kind of Fruity Pebbles color. It really is. My birthday is December 21st. Oh, nice. The first day of winter. Yours is, oh man, Tashawn. Yours is the day before mine. Wow. My birthday on Mother's Day. Oh, and that is the busy day for where I work. Oh my gosh, Mother's Day. You would think Mother's Day is not busy at a grocery store, but it is so busy. It's insane. Speaking of that, holidays are coming up. The holidays are coming up. And that means going to be busy on the YouTube channel and at work. So, yeah. You'll be 22. So, 22. So, you're 21 now. You are 7 years and you're almost about 8 years older, or you're 8 years younger than me. Wow. Your birthday's on Halloween? Oh, I would hate a birthday on Halloween. Oh, yeah. I would not mind my birthday on Christmas, though. Less than 45 minutes left. When are the new models coming in? Not until like 8:30 tonight, but I am not staying up that long. After the new advisory comes in, I'm going to probably head off. I did my 3 hours. I would have done my 3 hours. That's long enough. It seemed like the ice stopped shrinking. Yeah. It did stop shrinking. Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Just, 3 hours is a lot, is a long time. I think that's a good length for a stream, especially for a discussion. And I will be honest with you all. I got up at 5:30 this morning, and I have not slept since. Yeah. I've been up for over 12 hours, which doesn't seem that long, but I am tired. I can get my beauty sleep over here. On top of a kind of a upset stomach. Yeah. It hasn't been an easy Saturday for me. David, is the Hurricane going through an Eyewall replacement? Humberto is. I believe it is. There has been a notable weakening, a little bit of weakening on the advanced Dvorak technique. We're down to a 6.4 now. We're down to a 6.4. On the intensity. So, yeah. I believe it's either 150 or 155 right now. I would probably say it's about 155. It is 10:39 in Maryland. I meant 10:19 or 10:20 right now there. Yup. You guys are 3 hours ahead of me. It is 7:20 over here right now. Oh, that was the loudest stretch. Sorry, I stretch loud sometimes. There are some thunderstorms picking up on depression number 9, though. It was called a stretch, Amanda. Oh my gosh, that was loud. Yeah, sometimes I make loud stretches and sometimes I don't. I don't know why. Recon is done now, I think. Yeah. Let's look at Recon. Good old Recon over here. Let's see if they flew back in again. No, they didn't. System has not moved much. Yeah, they're done with their mission. Good job. No A2 mission. Good job. You earn a cookie. See if we have any lightning, though. Yeah, we still got some electrical activity in the storm. Now, we still got some lightning going on. Yeah, we still got lightning, which means that primary Eyewall is still quite intense. I'm just joking, Austin. I can subscribe for a free cookie. Yeah, that's what Mr. Beast would say, right? Subscribe to get a cookie. Cookie ookie. What kind of cookie? Chocolate chip? I love chocolate chip cookies. They are good. Hey, David, will Tropical Depression 9 be 67 miles an hour? Please stop with the 67. I know where you're going about that. Is there any indication that PTC-9 is strengthening? There is slight indications that it is strengthening, but at a pretty slow rate. You can see how this all evolved. So it is strengthening very slowly, but not really quickly. It's not like this is going to be a Cat 5 in 2 days. No. Yeah, by the way, welcome everybody to the stream. My name is David Schlotthauer, your weather enthusiast here in the home weather office. If you have not been here before and you're new and you like the content, such as live streaming, videos, and other stuff, please don't forget to slap that subscribe button, because if you subscribe, you get a cookie. No, I'm just kidding. No. You don't get a cookie. Well, you can if you imagine yourself getting a cookie. But yeah, if you do like the content, share, like, and subscribe. It really does help out a lot. Because yes, this is a little bit of work. Tracking 2 systems at once. 2 systems at once. Is it possible that PTC-9 will bother Florida? There's a tropical storm watch over Cape Canaveral, Palm Bay, across portions of Daytona Beach, as well as if you are in just to the north there of Fort Lauderdale. Yes, tropical storm watches are issued for that area. Also, I want to give a huge shout. it's an everyone shout out here for watching my snow forecast, folks. It really means a lot. It really does. Because I had to put a lot of work into that snow map, and the video already has, let's see here. Video already has 220,000 views already. So yeah, if you have not watched that video yet, please go watch it. It's really good. It's my 2000 shocking snowfall predictions. I will be releasing another snowfall forecast in much higher definition by late October. It will take me a bit to make my next snow map, though. Yeah, you guys watch it, share it, like it. Man, the video almost has 4,000 likes. So, yeah. And I'll tell you, not that I'm doing it for views, but man, I put a lot of time into that map, a whole entire week at making the map really detailed, putting it all together, layering it the way I needed to. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. I had to base it off of the last 2 years of historical snowfall data on top of the typical averages of snowfall for your given location and what I think is going to happen this winter. So it's a big process. It really is. Miguel Angel, no, I shouldn't take a break. I mean, it takes a lot of work to paint it. So what you have to do, you literally have to kind of... I mean, with these tall mountains, let's just put this into perspective. Like with these tall mountains, you have to kind of etch off. So let's just do an example here. So let's do red for like 4 feet of snowfall. You have to kind of etch out kind of like this. Like, you know, who's going to get the most snow in that particular area? You know, you have to kind of etch out kind of like that, you know. And when you put a lot of detail like that, it does take time because you have to change your brush size. You really do. And so when the hard work pays off, the demand is high, you know. It tells me, like, when I get 220,000 views watching that snowfall forecast, it tells me that, wow, people enjoy it. People want to see more. And there have been comments saying, dude, can you make this even more better? Like, there was a couple of people saying that. I'm like, I never thought of that. Maybe I will. And someone wanted to have me make one for Alaska as well, which tells me people are interested in seeing my next snowfall forecast. So that's why I'm going to make it better, high definition. It's going to be great. But of course, it does take time to make. It really does. And actually, I will kind of divulge it really quickly. I don't want to get too deep into this. But I want to show you the detail, just an example on the snow map that I've made so far. I showed this in last night's live stream. This is for the upcoming one. I mean, look at that. I mean, seriously, like, look how... That's what I'm talking about. This, you literally have to get a pin and you have to literally draw, make your paintbrush a lot smaller, and you have to be careful, and you have to do it right. You have to do it really well. And this is only the second layer, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of this tonight before I go to bed, at least get 1 or 2 layers done. And I got a long way to go. I do. So come on, save. Is it saving? There we go. So that's just the that it's only 1% done. You only saw like the first 1% of it. Oh, nice, Logan. Sweet. Yeah, maybe you could help me build up the map as well. Maybe we can talk one night. Is that snowfall forecast? Yes. But it's going to be in a much higher definition version. It is going to be like 6K quality. Yep, I saw the message, Logan. I just saw the message. But boy, these tropics are getting in the way of that. I mean, really. So if you see me kind of popping in and out on YouTube for the next 3 weeks or so, don't freak out. It's not that I'm ignoring you all. It's just because that's the big project. That is like a big time-consuming project that I'm working on. And using Photoshop can be frustrating. It really can. It is not easy at all. It's because you have to use the right paintbrush. You have to do a little bit of masking. You have to do this. You have to do that. It is not easy at all. That's why Photoshop is a little bit pricey. It's like $30 a month. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, it's like something like $30 a month. So it is expensive. But I'm doing it because you guys want me to make another snow map. I'm not doing it because I want to do it. I want to do it because you guys enjoy it. If you guys enjoy it, I enjoy making the maps. How does that sound? 170-mile-an-hour winds doesn't exist due to not conversions. All right, Austin, makes sense. So it's about, would be 175 then. Just forecast no snow for me. Well, we'll see about that, Brady. By the way, I'm adding a couple new legends to the map as well. So there's going to be a ½ an inch. Who's going to see at least a ½ an inch of snow? And who is going to see up to 20 feet of snowfall? All right, so that's going to be the new addition to the snowfall map. With my next update. So not only is it going to be more high resolution, but it's also going to include 2 new layers onto that. Narda is down to tropical storm. No, it's not. Is it really? Oh, shoot, it is. Wait. No, it's 80. Oh, it did. Oh, no, this didn't update. That's why. This did not update yet. Okay, yeah, it hasn't updated yet on their graphical page. Man, that is one large tropical storm force wind field, though. That is a big tropical storm. I am really excited for these 2 updates, so right here for us. Can't wait. I cannot wait for the new update. I think it's under category... Oh, it just updated. They kept it. They kept it. They kept it at category 5. And the pressure dropped. So it is not going into an Eyewall replacement cycle. So Humberto updated 11 p.m. Am I seeing that right? 11 p.m. Man, they were early on that update. They were early on that update. So man, my room went from 87 degrees to now 78 degrees with the fan being on. Much cooler in here. Much nicer. So Humberto has not weakened. has not weakened at all. Let's see what that is all about. Okay, so let's read the discussion because I don't think we have 9 out yet. Do we or do we not? No, we don't. So, yeah, 9. Yeah, 9 is not out yet. So let's see with what this says. Humberto remains a large and powerful hurricane this evening with a spectacular satellite presentation. The hurricane has a clear 19 Celsius symmetrical 25 nautical mile wide eye that is surrounded by a white ring of very cold -73 Celsius cloud tops. The most intense deep convection associated with the Eyewall appears to be just east of the surface center, where -78 Celsius tops are discernible. Impressive ventilation aloft is provided by dual outflow channels located over the north semicircle of the cyclone. The latest objective Dvorak T numbers from TAFB and TAFB and the various objective estimates support holding the initial intensity at 140 knots. Humberto could undergo, which means they are not seeing it. But we'll read more on that here in the paragraph. Humberto could undergo inner core structural changes, which will likely cause intensity fluctuations during the next 12 to 24 hours. In fact, an earlier, we have a new, look at what they're saying right here. And in fact, an earlier GPM GMI, that's what this is right here, GPM GMI 89 gigahertz channel right here. This is what they're seeing. Okay. Past revealed a hint of concentric outer ring development. What did I just say? What did I just say? Look at it, all makes sense, right? That's why you got to believe me, because some people did not believe that an Eyewall replacement cycle was beginning. And the University of MPERC is indicating up to nearly an 80% chance of another Eyewall replacement cycle event. Afterward, the statistical and skilled consensus intensity models point toward a gradual weakening trend beginning around Monday, though the remaining period further weakening at a faster pace is expected while the cyclone becomes embedded in the strong upper-level westerly flow with increasing vertical wind shear. By the 60-hour period, Humberto should continue moving around the southwestern periphery of a mid-tropospheric ridge located to the northeast of the cyclone and east of Bermuda. By Tuesday night, Humberto is forecasted to turn more to the north and northeast while the ridge mentioned above weakens and shifts eastward. By mid-next week, Humberto should turn quickly toward the northeast to east-northeast in response to a major shortwave upper-level trough amplification and a phase-up moving out of the Canadian Maritimes into the northwestern Atlantic waters. There remains quite a bit of a long tract spread beyond day 4, which is typically seen when tropical cyclones move within the mid-latitude upper-level westerlies and commence a structural transition to a powerful extratropical cyclone. The NHC forecast is nudged towards the TVCA simple consensus and has been shifted slightly westward and is close to the previous advisory. So, 160, they're not going any higher. So I think 160 does it with this hurricane for right now. That is, I mean, we were predicting I was predicting 170. That was because I did not see any discernible outer eyewall beginning to form in the morning subjective GMI microwave pass that came in. So we all assumed that if there's no eyewall replacement cycle by tonight, this would have made a run for about 170 miles an hour. But because of that Eyewall replacement cycle, it does seem more likely than not that the system is likely peaking intensity right now, and I don't think it's going to strengthen much more. If anything, plus or minus 5 miles an hour is certainly a possibility. But I think Humberto is at its peak intensity at the moment. Which is, I mean, a category 5 in all itself. It doesn't matter if it's 170 or 160. It's a category, or 175. I'm sorry if I said 170. Either 165 or 175 it would be. But there are indications that an Eyewall replacement cycle is about to begin. That's what I agree with. And the T numbers support that. Still dropping down on the T numbers, 6.3 right now. That's a full 1 grade down from right before I went live, where it was 7.3 earlier, which was a lot stronger when it comes to those T numbers. So things have dropped down notably a little bit with our system there of Humberto, but still is a very intense, catastrophic hurricane. No, I'm sorry, Scott, if I confused you there. No, they don't go 170 because of the knot conversion. I'm thinking of miles per hour. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't do knots very well. So it does appear we're going to need to wait to see how this all evolves, but it does appear that the system has not strengthened. This is Tropical Depression 9. Let's see what the latest NHC is saying on this really quickly. I don't think they updated it yet. No, they have not. No, they have not. So we are going to need to wait for a new update. That will be a little while because, of course, they're probably putting in a good essay discussion on that system. But I'm telling you guys in the chat, how have I done at predicting Humberto thus far? How have I done? What are your guys' thoughts? Did I do really well? I want to hear your guys' opinions on that. I feel like I did excellent. I literally predicted, not really predicted, but I saw that there was potentially an Eyewall replacement cycle coming on that microwave pass. And for sure enough, the NHC actually talks about that. So I honestly think another Eyewall replacement cycle is in the early stages. And that's why we have stopped seeing this intensity increase. Because during an eyewall replacement cycle, what ends up happening is the outer eyewall. Okay, so let's kind of use this as a drawing board. So you'll see, of course, your ring of convection, your eye is like this, right? So that's where your main eyewall is going to be. And then you get these banding futures that rotate around the primary eyewall. And if they organize enough like this, you know, you get maybe a band that looks kind of like this. It's kind of halfway around, but then it starts to consolidate all the way around, you know, that will rob the inner eye. And because hurricanes are heat-driven engines and they rely on, they're driven by centrifugal force. When you get a larger eye like that, the wind energy actually disperses. So you're spreading out your wind energy a little more when you have a larger eye, a secondary eye wall. And so that is why when you get 2 concentric eye walls, that's, you know, you can get even 3 eye walls in rare occasions. The primary eye wall in the middle is not even as intense as it would be if it was a primary eye wall. So instead of the primary eye wall having the 160 mile an hour winds, now you suddenly have the secondary eye wall that may have 155 or 160 mile an hour winds. So your wind energy is now dispersed over a larger area. helping the system weaken down a little bit. And eyewall replacement cycles is why I believe we don't get hurricanes that reach 200 miles an hour all the time, because there's a governor with these hurricanes. Once they become a category 3, a high end 3, typically a category 4, you start typically looking for, okay, is there going to be an eyewall replacement cycle? Because they happen a lot with intense hurricanes like this. And when you get a category 5 hurricane, you can get a lot of these. This is the second one in a single day that we're starting to see. So you could have 2 or 3 of these sometimes in a day in very intense hurricanes like we're seeing here with Humberto, which caps the intensity. So it tries to intensify a little more, but then that eyewall replacement cycle arrests further intensification. And then it tries to intensify a little further on the other side, but it can't because, well, there's another eyewall that is beginning to form. So it's kind of a governor in your engine. You know, your car could only go so fast because your engine is only allocated to make your car go so fast. You know, that's why your car can't go 200 miles an hour, right? It could only go so fast. Not that there's a governor on it, but your engine's only built to go so fast, if that makes sense. A little analogy there. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing our secondary eyewall form out here around the main area of deep convection. And so once this outer eyewall becomes well established, we're going to see the inner eyewall fall apart and weaken. If there's an eyewall merger that completes in about 3 or 4 hours, this could make a run briefly for being a little stronger. But by tomorrow, though, by Sunday, I think we're going to start seeing some weakening taking place. After the 12-hour mark, I think we're going to start seeing Humberto gradually, ever so slightly lose its intensity as it runs into more unfavorable conditions. Upper level vertical wind shear is slowly going to be on the increase. So that's how an eyewall replacement cycle happens. And sometimes these cycles can last 24 hours. Sometimes they can last 12 hours, 6 hours, and they could be done as little as 2 or 3 hours. It really just depends on the situation. And eyewall replacement cycles are very hard to predict as well. So you could only rely on that when you look at a microwave pass. So when you see an image like this, your instinct is like, oh, there's concentric eyewalls. There may be another eyewall replacement cycle because, of course, when you look at a infrared satellite imagery like this, what's going to come into your mind is that, oh, is there an eyewall replacement cycle? It doesn't look like it, right? It doesn't. You could only tell by looking at cloud tops that are a little warmer. You can tell they're not as blue as they were earlier. Remember how blue they were? Now they get kind of warmed up a little bit, and our eye-like future is a little cooler. Okay, so a cooling eye and a warming cloud tops are a signature that the system is losing strength a little bit. And that's what the ADT relies off of. You'll hear this term, advanced Dvorak technique, and this is basically an algorithm of basically, okay, the cloud pattern looks like this. So based on that, this is how intense it is actually. It's not 100% accurate, but it does a pretty good job. And it's been really accurate with this hurricane. So right now, we have had some weakening. The scene type is an eye, but look at the cloud temperature, eye temperature. 18 degrees, it is 4 degrees cooler than it was earlier. And your cloud region temperature is nearly 10 degrees warmer than it was earlier today. So there has definitely been some downward trends here on our hurricane recently with that cloud top. And that's what the NHC is basing it off of. They're looking at microwave data and they're looking at satellite intensity estimates. They don't have Recon out there, so the other workaround, the alternative is to look at satellite intensity estimates. You can go to the University of Wisconsin to find those intensity estimates. So here it is right here. Click on this, click on the storm that you want to see, blow this image up right here, click on your IR. This is what we've got, and your intensities are right up here. So you can see 140 knots. SATCON is at 139 knots. So we're in the ballpark there of a Category 5 hurricane at the moment. So, yeah. So you can, right here, I'm going to send you all the website. Oops, not that, not that. There we go. TAFB and SAB are so slow to update. Yeah. No updates on TD-9 yet. No, not yet. Not yet. We are waiting. As of 8 o'clock, so we're waiting for it to come in. Probably be about another 5 or 10 minutes. But how did you guys like that that explaining about an Eyewall replacement cycle? Did that kind of help you all understand what we're dealing with right now? I'm hoping so, because IR, it takes a while for it to show up on IR. It really does. Because that's IR for you. That's why you use microwave data. It's basically looking under the hood. Thank you so much, the R. So you got to think, when you have two eyewalls, the energy is dispersed. When you have a singularity eyewall, all that energy is really compacted into that hurricane, into that eyewall. So that's why you could get some very, very, very intense winds. Very intense winds within the primary eyewall. But usually once that secondary eyewall happens, that strengthens, the winds pick up on that, and it just spreads out the wind field a little bit more. Thank you. I'm glad I did an amazing job. I tried my best. I'll tell you right now. And I bet you people on the, I'm part of a Discord server, and they're probably like, no, David was right. There is hints of a eyewall replacement cycle. I'm like, yeah, now it's time to believe me when I saw that the whole time. So, it is a 35-mile-an-hour tropical depression, so it is not getting named yet. It is still a 35-mile-an-hour tropical depression. Pressure is 1,004 millibars, so the pressure has not fallen very much at all. Hardly at all. In fact, nothing. And it is, look at this. It is moving only at about 1 to 2 miles an hour. Boy, everybody can walk faster than 2 miles an hour to outsmart this, right? Look at that. So it is not moving at all. It is really, really moving slow. Very slow. So let's take a look here at the discussion. That has not come in yet. Thank you, Carrot. I appreciate that. Yes. Practically stalled at this point. Yep. So we're going to wait for the complete discussion because I wanted to read that to you all. But yeah, if you all have not been here before and you're new to the channel and you absolutely love how I explain things, what I cover here on the channel, including these discussions, of course, on the National Hurricane Center, satellite data, as well as model data and other cool stuff, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please hit the bell icon to get daily tropical weather updates and live discussions like what we're seeing here, and also like the video and share this video with their family and friends on social media. Forecast advisory is out. I'm refreshing. I am refreshing, and it's not out on my end. It still says 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So I am waiting patiently, and then we will read the discussion. Let's go. NHC, you updated the public advisory. It's because this says 11 p.m., but this says 5 p.m. So we're waiting. Yeah, NHC still says it's a tropical depression. Yes. What's up, Christine? How are you doing? You didn't get the notification, but I'm glad I found you. Awesome. The rain potential was updated. Oh, really? So let's look at the rain potential. Was it updated? Yes, it did get updated. So it looks like Wilmington is not going to get as much rain here. Looks like Wilmington is going to get just under 4 inches of rainfall. So that kind of goes to show you, it looks like most of the heaviest rainfall will be centered over Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Wilmington in the Carolinas. Which, honestly, this is great news that we're seeing lesser rainfall than more rainfall. We do not want a flood threat. We do not want anyone to get hurt in this. So it's a good thing that there has been trends further away from the coast and the rainfall totals have been trended down a little bit. There is still that flood threat, though, that slight risk for flooding over Charlotte, over Raleigh, Wilmington, Charleston, Savannah, Jacksonville, that Augusta area. Okay, we got the discussion. We got the storyline. Let's read the story. What does the story tell us? So the depression this evening remains fairly disorganized. Yeah, see, fairly disorganized. So I mean, and you can kind of understand why it is disorganized. If we go back, let's go back here really quickly and look at 9. I mean, does this really look like a tropical depression? Or does it look like a blobbier of thunderstorms and clouds, really? You have to ask yourself, does it really look like that of a tropical storm? No, it doesn't. So it's very blobbier, okay? We're not seeing like spiraling bands. We're not seeing anything that's like so organized. So it is a tropical depression, but it remains fairly disorganized at this time, okay? With convection mainly orientated in a north-south phase with only a hint of banding on the northern side. Okay. A NOAA P-3 aircraft that has been flying through the system only found a peak 700 millibar flight level wind of 34 knots about 60 nautical miles away from the center. Tail Doppler radar TDR analysis from the aircraft also shows that the center is quite broad at the 1 kilometer level, with the mid-level center tilted to the south with height. Interesting. Based on the plane data, the initial intensity remains 30 knots for this advisory, which is a little under the various satellite-based estimates, but close to a recently received SCADA monitor pass, which had a peak wind of about 31 knots. Okay, so that kind of goes to show you. Aircraft fixes both at the 700 millibar and from the TDR analysis shows that the cyclone is meandering right now. So it's not really moving, with best guesses at a motion of 310 degrees at 2 knots. Over the next couple of days, the system should turn north-northwestward with a somewhat faster forward motion, moving within the flow between an upper-level trough over the southeastern United States and a subtropical ridge over the Atlantic. This forecast brings the depression over the central and northwestern Bahamas through early Monday, then toward the southeast U.S. coast by Tuesday. It is notable. Okay, this is where we really need to do the big grown-ups talk right here, okay? So it is, oops, I don't want to do that. I want to highlight this. It is notable to point out that this system has been moving slower than anticipated over the last 24 hours. Okay. Someone detected that someone in chat said it's been moving slower than what we initially thought. That is true. So someone's already picking that up. So it is not moving very fast. Again, only 2 miles per hour. I could run up to like 8 miles an hour or 9 miles an hour. I could run faster than this tropical depression can actually move right now. And this could have significant implications on its ultimate track. Even in the first 48 hours of the track, there is quite a bit of spread in the north-south direction in both the deterministic and ensemble model guidance. Man, that is not very helpful at all. I mean, the discussion is, but like, we cannot forecast beyond 2 days on this system. We literally can't. Okay, that's crazy. A 2-day forecast is like predicting something 7 days out. So there is a lot of spread in the north-south direction in both the deterministic and ensemble model guidance. Faster tracks appear to interact more with the upper level trough to the west, resulting in a track closer to the Carolina coastline, while slower tracks largely miss a direct interaction with this future and turn sharply east faster as Hurricane Humberto approaches from the east and the eroding mid-level ridge steering TD-9 northward. So again, it's that. What did we discuss in today's update? It is these features that the models are not resolving very well. You got this trough, you got this ridge, and you got Humberto that is part of the puzzle piece over here. So I know pretty well it's gonna be somewhere in the northern Bahamas in about 2 or so days, but like, does it turn sooner rather than later? That is now on the docket here in today's update. And the fact that this is moving slower really makes me question if this is even going to get north of the Bahamas before it turns to the east-northeast. Okay? Because it has been moving slower than expected, it's becoming more likely its ultimate track will fall in the slower and sharper east camp, which means the chances of this going on shore are decreasing. So you could already start kind of scratching your head and like, okay, that's a good thing. It's not going on shore. It's going out to the east. Even the NHC here is making it clear in their discussion that it's moving slower than expected. So we could already kind of start saying that, okay, it doesn't look like it's going to hit land, but it's still going to be over the Bahamas. And it's then going to make a turn to the east sooner rather than later, right? In response, the overall track guidance this cycle has shifted slower and further east, and the NHC track forecast has shifted in that direction. The latest track roughly splits the difference between the Euro and the GFS tracks. Okay, so that means the Euro is furthest north, and the GFS is furthest south with this, and lies quite close to the HCCA consensus aids, but still not as far south and east as the Google DeepMind ensemble means are showing. Interesting on that. So therefore, I mean, it's not going to make land. I don't think it's going to make landfall now. All right, so the depression is now showing signs of intensification, yet with a broad diffuse structure on aircraft observations persisting. However, the intensity guidance is insistent that the deep central convection will soon form near the center, helping to tighten up the surface wind field a little bit. While the cyclone will have some southerly vertical wind shear to deal with, it does not appear to be the prohibitively strong, only 15 to 20 knots for the next 48 hours. Interesting. Okay. In both the GFS and European base ships guidance, that combined with the warm 30 Celsius sea surface temperatures should promote steady intensification once a central core develops. And the NHC intensity forecast was nudged up a little higher, showing a 70 knot peak in 48 hours. That's a hurricane. After this period is where the intensity forecast gets tricky. The large spread in the north-south tracks also have a significant impact on the amount of shear the system will face in the 48 to 96 hour time frame. Solutions that are further south have less shear to contend with and are generally much stronger. For now, the latest intensity forecast will cap the peak intensity at 70 knots through the end of the forecast, close to the HCCA intensity guidance, but this could be conservative if the track shifts further south and east. The system should also interact with a baroclinic zone towards the end of the forecast, but because of the forecast track remains over the warm waters at day 5, extratropical transition won't be shown quite yet. All right. Man, that was a loud motorcycle. Loud motorcycle. All right, so very important here. We want to read this. Even if this further offshore track pans out, the wind field is expected to expand quite a bit. And given the expected storm structure, a risk for significant heavy rainfall, storm surge, and wind impacts are still possible for the southeastern United States coast. Even the center remains offshore. So yes, I want to make it clear in this live stream that you don't need the center, that is, of this system to make landfall to bring the biggest impacts. All right? Even if this stays far enough offshore, you could still get tropical storm force winds all the way up towards Myrtle Beach and Charleston in South and North Carolina. All right, please. That's why I have changed my articulation with my voice here. I'm trying to make it clear. Do not focus on the exact center because this is going to be a rainmaker event for the coastline of the Carolinas, including for portions of Florida. Okay, so the intensity here is up to 80 miles an hour right now. So they have bumped it up to 70 to 80 now. So my intensity forecast now calls this to become a hurricane based on in accordance with the DeepMind AI models, as well as the NHC, and especially with that southern shift in the guidance envelope. I am now expecting this to become a hurricane with winds at peak at 75 miles an hour. So I'm right underneath the NHC here with my intensity forecast. So anyone living in the northern Bahamas needs to get prepared for a potential hurricane here with winds between 70 to 75 miles per hour. And it would not be entirely surprising if we even get hurricane watches out for the northern islands of the Bahamas in later updates from the National Hurricane Center. So got to be aware of that, okay? It is moving very slow right now. This is not moving fast at all at the very moment, okay? I want to make it clear. This is expected to strengthen pretty quickly. We go from 40 miles an hour in the next 6 to 12 hours to something that is near hurricane intensity in about 33 hours. So yes, some quick strengthening with this is looking a little bit more likely, unfortunately, before this becomes potentially a Category 1 hurricane by the time we go into the next 45 hours or so, okay? That's what this model, that's what the NHC says. And right now, it looks like it is going to be safely away from the coast here with its center. So the cone is not touching anyone right now except for the Bahamas. That's the great news that I wanted to discuss, okay, in today's update. But still, heavy rainfall, flooding, strong winds along the immediate coast of Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas are looking more likely than not still, okay? because people like to hyper focus. It's all about the center. It's all about that's where your weather happens. No, let's look at Humberto. Again, great textbook here of Humberto. Okay, this is what Humberto looks like. Are you going to focus? And I want to ask you guys this question really quick, then I will call it a night. When you look at Humberto here and you look at the NHC and there's like a plot like saying, oh, it's a category 5, 160. Are you going to hyper focus on the exact center? Are you going to look at what's going around the hurricane? I want to hear your guys' answer. Please answer me on that one. Right? Are you going to hyper focus on the exact center, or are you going to look at what's going on immediately around it? This is Radar Omega. Both, because everything matters. Exactly. The center matters, and what goes on around the system matters a lot too, right? Because wind expands. And you can see right here, let's go to Humberto really quickly, making this quick for y'all. Humberto, look at the current wind field. Yes, hurricane force winds. That's what we're seeing. Here is tropical storm force winds, and still tropical storm force winds that are a little lower. I mean, that's pretty far from the center. That really is. So we can't just focus on the center because impacts will spread out from the system with the somewhat vertical wind shear, which vertical wind shear of 20 knots. I'm a little surprised that the NHC actually is forecasting that. I think it's going to be a little higher than that unless it goes much further south. So if it makes a turn like this, so if it kind of does something that looks kind of like that, then this could become a little stronger. It could end up being a little stronger than what the NHC is saying because the vertical wind shear with southward extent is a little lower. In fact, vertical wind shear on the southern side of the cone here is only projected to be about 5 or 10 knots, which is pretty light, but versus the northern end of the cone, vertical wind shear is expected to be like 30 to 40 knots. So it really is going to matter on exactly where this is going to go. But right now, there's a pretty decent amount of uncertainty, but we now know broadly that this is more than likely going to make that turn off to the east, despite the complications. All right, last round of questions, and I'm going to head off. Any more questions you guys might have? Any more questions you guys might have on 9 or Humberto? I love you guys. I am really glad you guys were able to tune in. Over 3 hours of this stream, one of the longer streams of the night or on my channel here. Not tonight, BB Butcher. No, B Butcher. No, I'm tired. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. And on top of that, I only got like a few hours of sleep last night because my stomach was bothering me. So yeah, it was not a good night for me. So I am pretty tired. But I'm going to do a little bit more work on the snow map for like 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'm probably going to head off my computer for the night and then go to bed because I need my beauty rest. I'm leaving New York City Wednesday for a cruise to Bermuda. Do you think it's still going to happen? Oh boy. Next Wednesday, you're probably referring to the 1st of October. Yikes. Well, okay, so you're going from New York. It'll take a while to get there. This is... You should be fine. Yeah, but not a tropical depression 9 though could make things interesting. So it might, I don't think it's going to get canceled. I don't think it will. But you might get some rough seas. So make sure you take Dramamine if along with you for the ride. I'm feeling a little bit better, Sandy W. My stomach is feeling better, but sometimes I do get these stomach migraines. They're not that bad at all. It just, actually, they're kind of bad depending on. This one wasn't that bad though, to where I got really nauseated. But I didn't feel good. I felt kind of yucky a little bit. And this was mainly last night, so that's why I'm feeling better now. So I should sleep better tonight. But last night I was not feeling 100%. Okay. I think that is about it. David, what is it, Spanky? For real, what if Humberto does leave Imelda behind? If it does, that's the thing. We don't know what's going to exactly happen. If it does, though, it can do something like this, or it can do something like this, or it can do something like, we just don't know. That's why we can't speculate exactly beyond at least 4 or 5 days. What if it's so slow that it misses Humberto completely? Again, that is a distinct possibility, but we are not 100% certain about that right now. It is moving a lot slower than what the expectations were. That could have huge implications on what goes on. Maybe this stays quite stationary for a while, and then maybe it drifts this way, or maybe it does something like this and goes... there's just a lot of possible outcomes here. But right now, most of the model consensus is showing an out-to-sea track once it leaves the Bahamas. But please do not use that as a saving grace tool, because there will be impacts along the Carolina coast, such as high surf, some strong winds, and some heavy rainfall. What's up, Miguel Angel? How are you doing? All right. I think that's really about it with the questions. I think no one has any other questions. So if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so. I will more than likely have a video out on this tomorrow on Tropical Depression 9. I don't think I'm going to be able to live stream tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen because I've worked tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And so, therefore, I don't think... We'll see. It'll depend on the situation. If this is a quickly evolving situation on Tropical Depression 9... to where I think a live stream is needed, then we'll go live instead of a video update. But yeah, but I'll have something out on the channel tomorrow. It's just either a live stream or a video update. But as always, I love you guys. You guys are awesome, respectful, and loving here to the channel. And I am excited for what the future holds ahead of us, or ahead of me here and you on the channel as well. Love you guys. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday night on this 27th and 28th of September 2025. Have a great rest of your night from the home weather office in California. I'll see you back here tomorrow.